Chapter 1025. Tang Zheng and Yin Luyan were surprised by this scene. They had thought that the two sides were in cahoots, but it turned out that Granny Li wanted to force Ji Wuxiang to submit. There was no doubt that Ji Wuxiang had a lot of power, and Granny Li probably wanted to take his resources for her own use. After all, Li Palace was no longer the same as before, and she was almost a commander without an army. In addition, Granny Li's action was probably not her own idea, but more likely an order from the High Lord. The High Lord must have some ulterior motive and needed Ji Wuxiang's help. No matter what the other side's purpose was, Granny Li's action must be stopped. Granny Li made her move, and her murderous aura soared to the sky, as if she was determined to kill. Ji Wuxiang was locked on by Granny Li's aura and could not escape. He could only watch as Granny Li's skinny hand reached for his throat. Although there were other Go players in the club, they could not stop her. Ji Wuxiang seemed to be dead for sure. Stop! Tang Zheng gave a deep roar as he charged towards Granny Li. His large hand reached out and grabbed Granny Li's back. Granny Li's hand was about to hit Ji Wuxiang when she heard the sound of something breaking through the air and a familiar roar behind her. She turned pale with fright and flipped in the air, her palms striking at Tang Zheng. Bang! The two palms collided and Granny Li was sent flying, crashing into a pillar and falling in a corner. She spat out a mouthful of blood, and her face was deathly pale. Tang Zheng, it's you again. Why are you always haunting me? Granny Li roared hysterically. Ji Wuxiang breathed a sigh of relief. His whole body went limp, and he staggered, almost falling down. Panting, he looked at Tang Zheng and squeezed out a smile that was uglier than crying. Young Master Tang, thank you for saving my life. Tang Zheng nodded slightly. At this moment, Granny Li seemed to understand that the operation had failed, so she got up and leaped into the sky. Bang! A big hole appeared in the blue tiles of the roof. Granny Li jumped up and fled. Where are you going? How could Tang Zheng watch helplessly as the cooked duck flew away? So he hurriedly chased after her. When his feet landed on the roof, he saw Granny Li, like a monkey, scampering into the nearby shopping mall. Unwilling to give up, Tang Zheng hurriedly chased after him. The shopping mall was bustling with people, and there was no sign of Granny Li. It was more difficult than finding a needle in a haystack. Tang Zheng angrily stomped his foot and gnashed his teeth. Granny Li is really cunning. She let her slip away so easily. If this Go Club hadn't been built in the midst of chaos, she wouldn't have been able to escape no matter what. A moment later, he returned to the Go Club. Although Ji Wuxiang was still in a state of shock, he was a tyrant after all. He quickly regained his composure on the surface and chatted happily with Yin Luyan. Seeing that Tang Zheng had returned, Yin Luyan hastily asked, "Where is Granny Li?" Tang Zheng helplessly shook his head. She escaped. Alas, that's a pity. Yin Luyan sighed. Ji Wuxiang said, "This Granny Li is very cunning. This is also the downtown area. Young Master Tang doesn't need to worry about it. She escaped this time, but it won't be so easy next time. It's all thanks to young Master Tang and young Master Yan's help. Otherwise, my life would have been lost to Granny Li's evil hands." Tang Zheng stared at Ji Wuxiang without saying a word. Ji Wuxiang was startled and fell into contemplation. After a while, he said in a deep voice, "I know young Master Tang has a lot of questions. Feel free to ask. I will tell you everything I know." Good. Since Manager Ji is so straightforward, I won't beat around the bush. What is Granny Li's purpose in coming to Manager Ji? Tang Zheng asked straightforwardly. Ji Wuxiang smiled bitterly and said, "What other purpose could there be? They are trying to bribe me. They want me to submit to the Azure Dragon Palace." Submit to the Azure Dragon Palace? Tang Zheng's head moved. The Azure Dragon Palace was a very strict organization. Why would they want to recruit talents? But after thinking about it, he felt relieved. The Azure Dragon Palace had lost a lot of people at his hands. The martial organization, Li Palace, and Soar Pavilion were all out of their control. The High Lords would naturally want to add new blood and restore the Azure Dragon Palace's glory. But the Azure Dragon Palace had always placed great importance on martial strength. Although Ji Wuxiang had a lot of power, he was still just an ordinary person. What did the High Lord see in him? A man fears fame just as a pig fears being fat. I, Ji Wuxiang, have been living in seclusion for the past few years. I have tried my best not to show myself in public because I was afraid of this kind of trouble. Now it seems that my actions were not effective. In the end, I was targeted by the Azure Dragon Palace. The Azure Dragon Palace is more terrifying than the other powers. They eat people without spitting out the bones. So, how could I dare to agree to them? Ji Wuxiang was very bitter as he sighed. Tang Zheng stared straight at Ji Wuxiang as if he wanted to discern the truth in his words. But he could not find a single flaw. Director Ji, if I may ask, what did the Azure Dragon Palace see in you when they asked you to submit to them? Tang Zheng asked without any trace of politeness. Ji Wuxiang was slightly startled. He hesitated as his expression flickered. Tang Zheng's head trembled. His face was gloomy as he unhappily said, Director Ji, if you still have any misgivings, then we will take our leave. As for the matters between you and the Azure Dragon Palace in the future, I will no longer ask about it. Ji Wuxiang seemed to have been poked in his weak spot. He quickly stood up and said, Young Master Tang misunderstands. How could I have misunderstood? I'll say it. Tang Zheng coldly laughed. If I don't force you, you'll continue to pretend. I guess that the Azure Dragon Palace has taken a fancy to my Go Club. Ji Wuxiang weakly said, Go Club? Tang Zheng and Yin Luyin looked at each other in confusion. This was just an ordinary Go Club. Why would the Azure Dragon Palace take a fancy to this place? Ji Wuxiang smiled and said, I didn't tell you the truth before. Actually, this Go Club is not as simple as you think it is. What you see is only the surface. Oh, then I'm interested to hear more. Tang Zheng raised his eyebrows and said with interest, I don't know if you two still remember what I said last time. The world is a Go game. Ji Wuxiang asked. Tang Zheng thought for a while and nodded. I have a bit of an impression of it. Yin Luyin had long since forgotten, but there was nothing wrong with this sentence. He did not understand why Ji Wuxiang would bring it up again. The world is a Go game. Each of us is a Go piece. If we can comprehend the profound meaning of this Go game, then we can play this Go game. Ji Wuxiang spoke tirelessly. Tang Zheng nodded inwardly. He still had a bit of an impression of these words. At the time, he thought that they were exaggerations, but now it seemed that there was a deeper meaning to them. I've been obsessed with Go since I was young. I've spent a lot of energy studying Go and finally made some progress. I've comprehended the profound meaning of the Go game. Last time, you also saw that the Go pieces here are very special. They are as heavy as 1,000 pounds, but in their hands, they can lift them as if they were light. They're no different from ordinary Go pieces. This is because I've comprehended the profound meaning of the Go game. Yin Luyin listened to these mysterious words and felt that it was inconceivable. He could not help but interrupt. Director Ji, we all know that you are very powerful and very smart, but what you said is too mysterious. It sounds like a myth. Myth, huh? Hee. Ji Wuxiang smiled meaningfully and looked at Tang Zheng. Young Master Tang, you are a cultivator. Of course you are aware of the many mysterious techniques and methods cultivators have. Although my words are inconceivable, do you think it is possible for them to be true? Tang Zheng's experience was obviously much richer than Yin Luyin. After hearing these words, he did not deny it. Instead, he said, Director Ji, please continue. Yin Luyin saw Tang Zheng's reaction and knew that he was 70 to 80% convinced. There was nothing he could do, so he could only continue to listen to Ji Wuxiang talk nonstop. The Go game that I've comprehended is called Heaven's Go. If you're placed in it and are unable to solve the Go game, then you'll be trapped in the Go game forever. Ji Wuxiang said, Forever unable to turn over? What a big tone. Yin Luyin disapproved as he curled his lips. Tang Zheng's head moved. Could it be that Ji Wuxiang had really created this kind of Go game? If the power was as he said, then it was really terrifying. The Heaven's Go game is very complicated. There can't be the slightest mistake. Otherwise, the slightest mistake will lead to a huge error. Only people who are very familiar with Go games can set up this Go game. And in this world, only I can do it. I don't know how the Azure Dragon Palace got this information, So I guess they came for this Heaven's Go game. Since you have this kind of method, why didn't you resist? Could it be that you wanted to watch as Granny Lee kills you? Tang Zheng asked. Ji Wuxiang smiled bitterly. How could I resist? This Heaven's Go game is very difficult to set up. It's not something that can be completed in a day or night. How could I have expected that Grandma Li would be so cruel and merciless? She actually wanted to take my life without saying a word. Tang Zheng had been thinking about the flaws in Ji Wuxiang's words. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration and noticed the surrounding Go players. Those heavy Go pieces were as light as a feather in their hands. Could it be that they were also proficient in Heaven's Go? Tang Zheng immediately asked. Ji Wuxiang gave Tang Zheng a thumbs up and sincerely praised. Young Master Tang is really meticulous. You actually thought of this point. You were partly right and partly wrong. Oh, then I'd like to hear what was right and what was wrong. Without a doubt, Tang Zheng's curiosity was completely aroused by Ji Wuxiang. Those Go players are indeed proficient in the way of Heaven's Go, but they are not proficient in it. They only know a part of it. Only by gathering everyone together and coordinating them under my command can I complete the Heaven's Go game. I am the core of the Heaven's Go game. These Go players are the ones I have nurtured for many years. They practice the Heaven's Go game every day so that they can play a role in the future when I set up the Heaven's Go game. Hearing this, Tang Zheng and Yin Luyin couldn't help but look at those Go players with calm expressions. Every Go player needed to be calm when playing so that they could deal with possible crises and not lose the game because of their emotions. These Go players were even more so. Chapter 1026. Tang Zheng did not want to be involved in the power struggle of the upper echelons. He was not interested in the big backer behind Ji Wuxiang and calmly said, Chief Ji is a smart person. Naturally, he will have his own way to deal with the crisis in front of him. Ji Wuxiang smiled embarrassedly. Intelligence alone cannot solve everything. People must have strong strength. Otherwise, it can only be regarded as petty tricks. Young Master Tang is not only smart, but also has strong strength. This is the true invincible position. Yin Lian thought about it and looked at Ji Wuxiang and thought, listening to his tone, could it be that he wants to rely on Tang Zheng? This was very different from the Ji Wuxiang in his impression. He had always thought that Ji Wuxiang was omnipotent, but now it seemed that he was only SOSO. His previous reliance came from the backer behind him. Yin Lian could not help but look at Tang Zheng again. His heart was filled with emotion. No matter how strong a person was, when facing him, it seemed that they would be dwarfed. Young Master Tang, there is something that I don't know if I should say. Ji Wuxiang said hesitantly. What is it? My backer doesn't get along well with the chief you're in contact with. They've been fighting both openly and covertly. This time, he's bound to lose, and that chief's power and status will be greatly improved. As far as I know, you don't seem to have a good relationship with that chief. This is not a good thing for you, Ji Wuxiang said meaningfully. Tang Zheng's eyes trembled as he said, Thank you for the reminder. He and the chief were not on good terms, especially on the matter of the 5-clawed golden dragon. It could be said that he had completely gone against the chief's wishes. He had chosen to endure, but his heart was definitely filled with anger. As long as he was given the opportunity, he would definitely explode. Tang Zheng was very clear on this point, so Ji Wuxiang's reminder made Tang Zheng pay attention to it. He had to guard against the possible crisis. Chief Ji, if there is nothing else, we will take our leave. Thank you for your help. Forgive me for not seeing you off. Tang Zheng glanced at the numerous Go players and left the Go club under Yin Lian's suspicious gaze. After walking across the street, Yin Lian finally could not help but ask, Young Master Tang, Ji Wuxiang obviously wants to rely on you. Why don't you accept his offer? Tang Zheng shook his head. We don't know how trustworthy Ji Wuxiang's words are. Besides, he's not at the end of his rope yet. There's no need for us to intervene so early. Then aren't you worried that the heaven's chess piece in his hands will fall into the hands of others? Tang Zheng smiled and said, Even though he brags to the heavens, but in the end, what you hear is false and what you see is true. Your people continue to keep an eye on him and see what other tricks he has up his sleeve. Yin Luya nodded and said regretfully, "It's a pity that Granny Lee escaped this time. She's also a big scourge. Compared to the High Lord, she's just a small character. The most important thing now is to find the High Lord. He hasn't shown himself yet, so I suspect that he's brewing some big scheme. This is the calm before the storm," Tang Zheng said earnestly. Yin Liyun's face darkened as he nodded heavily. "That's reasonable. What about the 100 Faces Star Sovereign? Is there any movement from him?" Tang Zheng asked. "We suspect that he's returned to the island nation, but he hasn't shown himself since. In a foreign country, it's not as easy for our people to investigate," Yin Liyun said somewhat helplessly. Tang Zheng nodded and said, "With the 100 Faces Star Sovereign's personality, he definitely won't keep hiding. He's definitely plotting something. It doesn't matter if he doesn't show himself now. As long as we keep an eye on him, we'll find some clues," Yin Liyun explained, and then the two of them parted ways. At the same time, Granny Lee arrived at a quiet place after escaping. She respectfully knocked on the door, and the door opened. She restrained her angry expression and calmed down a little. Then, she walked in with heavy steps. A moment later, she came in front of a person and bowed respectfully. "High Lord, I failed. Not only did I fail to take Ji Wuxiang for my own use, but I also attracted Tang Zheng. If I hadn't escaped fast enough, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to come back to see the High Lord." The High Lord's eyes flickered under the mask, making people shudder. He stared at Granny Lee for a long time. Granny Lee didn't dare to meet his eyes and lowered her head. "It's all this subordinate's fault. Please punish me, High Lord." The High Lord looked at her with burning eyes and finally opened his mouth. "This is an uncontrollable factor. Tang Zheng is my biggest enemy. The capital city is his base camp, and he has many eyes and ears. It's not surprising that he ruined our plan. Not only did he ruin our plan, but he also made me lose a lot of disciples. He's really hateful." Granny Lee's eyes were almost spitting fire as she said hatefully. The High Lord was surprised. "You lost all your disciples?" "Yes, I couldn't protect them. I'm really ashamed," Granny Lee said dejectedly. "Raise your head, this is not your fault. You just have to put on Tang Zheng's head," the High Lord said in a powerful voice. Granny Lee restrained her emotions and asked, "High Lord, Ji Wuxiang's plan is ruined. What should we do next?" "Humph, ruined? Who said so? He's already cornered. If he still dares to persist, I'll make him wish he was dead." The High Lord's voice was gloomy to the extreme, making people shudder. Granny Lee nodded in agreement. "The High Lord is wise. You should conserve your energy first. You'll be busy later. Don't go to Ji Wuxiang's side." He had long been used to the other party's mysterious appearance. He put down the pen in his hand and raised his head. Sure enough, he saw the familiar mask of the High Lord. He was very wary of the High Lord in the beginning and used each other. However, now that the Azure Dragon Palace had suffered a great loss in the hands of Tang Zheng, the bureau chief was surprised, but also had an unexpected surprise. That was, the High Lord, who was at his wit's end, actually helped him greatly. This action against his opponent was a gift that made the bureau chief very satisfied. He often thought proudly in his heart, no matter how powerful the High Lord was, he still had the last laugh. These martial artists looked glamorous, but after all, they were rootless duckweeds. They didn't have the support of the country and didn't have the support of the people. They looked glamorous, but in reality, they could easily be defeated. Wasn't this the best proof? Although he would fail, he had the foundation and the support of the people, so he could still make a comeback. Therefore, he was the one who had the last laugh. When he looked at the High Lord, he wasn't as nervous and cautious as before. He casually pointed to the chair opposite him and said, "Have a seat. We can carry out the plan to deal with that old thing now. Let's move quickly." The High Lord nodded in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing. "That old thing probably wouldn't even dream that I know so many dirty things about him. Ji Wuxiang, that white glove, has done so many dirty things for him. It seems like there's no evidence against him, but in fact, there are many things that could be used against him. This is his death warrant. Once the time is up, his old life will be taken away," the bureau chief said proudly. After a pause, the bureau chief continued, Ji Wuxiang can't be allowed to continue living in this world. He knows too many things. You know what to do, right? The High Lord nodded lightly. The bureau chief relaxed and said, Ji Wuxiang is actually a talent. It's just that he stood on the wrong side and chose the wrong master. Naturally, what awaits him won't be a good ending. Your Azure Dragon Palace is really good at gathering information. You even know the dirty things that they do in private. The High Lord remained calm and said, The opponent has been eliminated. What are your plans next? Chapter 10:27. The Great Lord stared at the bureau chief and asked, What do you think? Do you still remember the 100 Faces Star-Lord? I heard that you had dealings with him in the 100,000 Mountains, the bureau chief asked. The Great Lord nodded and looked at the bureau chief in confusion. The bureau chief enjoyed the feeling of not being able to see through him. It was a wonderful feeling to be in control of everything. That's all in the past. I hope you don't take it to heart. Now, the 100 Faces Star-Lord has taken root in the island nation and is very close to the royal family. This is really unexpected, the bureau chief said emotionally. The Great Lord remained silent. He didn't know what the bureau chief was up to. The bureau chief looked at him with a smile and revealed the answer. The royal family of the island nation has sent a message that they want to cooperate with us. The island nation used to be a dog that wagged its tail and begged the Atlantic Empire. Now that the Atlantic Empire no longer has the Rockefeller family, its power has decreased sharply. This dog naturally wants to find a new master. The rise of Huaxia is unstoppable, and we are so close to the island nation. Naturally, they want to rely on us. The Great Lord was silent for a while, as if digesting this news. After a long time, he said, The island nation is ambitious. Moreover, they invaded Huaxia and have a long-standing feud with us. Cooperating with them is tantamount to plotting against the tiger. The bureau chief shook his head and looked at the Great Lord mockingly. This is an old idea from decades ago. Our ideas must keep pace with the times to be the best. There are no eternal enemies in this world, only eternal benefits. This is especially important for us, the rulers. You're not an official, so naturally, you won't understand this. After all, the courage of an ignorant man doesn't have much practical use in this society. As he spoke, the bureau chief bent his finger and knocked on the table. Dong, dong, dong. The crisp sound seemed to remind the Great Lord. The Great Lord's eyes didn't change at all. He said softly, Understood. The bureau chief knew when to stop and continued. We can use the island nation's resources to deal with Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng has many experts around him. It's not so easy to deal with him, the Great Lord reminded. The bureau chief pursed his lips and said disapprovingly, No matter how strong an individual is, there is a limit. It's the new era now. How can we still use those old ideas to deal with things? Tang Zheng's business was so big, and this was his weakness. If the government made a move, it would be criticized by others, thinking that they were deliberately suppressing him. But if it's a threat from the outside world, then no one can say anything. The Great Lord's gaze turned cold. He stared at the bureau chief and said thoughtfully, That makes sense. But what was the breakthrough point? We have to find a place to bite. Only then can we kill him. He has already delivered a breakthrough for us. Oh, what breakthrough? They've recently developed a new drug, and they're bragging about it. They're sending it for approval. If there's a problem at this time, then we can break through their layers of protection. Of course, this kind of thing is best left to the people of the island nation. How do I operate it? The bureau chief smiled mysteriously and said, There are specializations in every field. The people of the island nation are the best at scheming. They will naturally think of a specific solution. We just need to provide them with a breakthrough point. The Great Lord didn't ask further. The sun shone brightly in Beijing in September. Yenching University was bustling with people, and there were many new faces. It was time for the students to return to school. For Tang Zheng and the rest, they had already advanced from university rookies to second-year veterans. Their dresses were fluttering in the wind. Pairs of fiery eyes were searching for a target in the crowd. Fire, theft, and seniors. This group of seniors who were welcoming new students naturally wouldn't miss this opportunity, because this was a rare opportunity to get rid of being single. Tang Zheng didn't want to join the fun at first, but he couldn't resist Yi Dingdang and Fang Shishi's persuasion and was dragged to school. Looking at the lively new faces, Tang Zheng couldn't help but think of the time when he first entered the school. At that time, he was just like them. The only difference was that his goal was more clear, or it could be said that he was more free and easy. One on the left and one on the right, two beauties accompanied each other, occasionally accompanied by some intimate actions. Without a doubt, this scene immediately attracted the attention of many people, especially the freshmen. All of them looked at him as if he was a monster. Whether it was Fang Shishi or Yi Dingdang, they were undoubtedly top-grade beauties, each with their own merits. As long as one could get the favor of one, then his life wouldn't be in vain, let alone two. The key was that the relationship between the three was too intimate, and it made people's imaginations run wild. "Senior, who is that person? So awesome?" A quick-witted freshman pulled the senior aside and asked, his eyes constantly wandering between Fang Shishi and Yi Dingdang. He was indignant and wanted to poach them. The senior rolled his eyes and looked at the junior like he was looking at an idiot. He patted him on the shoulder and said, "Don't say that I didn't take care of you. The first thing you should do after entering school is not to know who the principal is, but to know the person in front of you." The junior disagreed. "Senior, you're exaggerating. Who is he so awesome? You just have to remember that he's called Tang Zheng. Stay as far away from him as you can, and don't provoke him." The senior warned earnestly. Tang Zheng's fame in school was unmatched, and he was simply a living legend. The junior stared at Tang Zheng for a while, but he couldn't see anything different. He thought to himself, "Senior isn't lying to me, right? Or maybe Senior is interested in these two beauties, so he deliberately wants me to back off, so that there will be one less strong competitor like me." Just as this junior was daydreaming, a black Mercedes-Benz and a white luxury limousine drove over at lightning speed. A few students who were dragging their suitcases screamed in fright and were almost hit by the limousine. They were battered and exhausted. But a thin boy didn't dodge in time and was hit by the RV and fell to the ground. Too hateful, driving so fast in school. They don't care about other people's lives at all. It's simply murder. Someone was filled with righteous indignation. Bang, 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 bang. The sound of the door opening and closing rang out. For strong men in black suits got out of the Mercedes-Benz and looked like bodyguards. They quickly moved to the door of the RV and respectfully opened the door. Ding, ding, ding. The crisp sound of high heels hitting the ground rang out, and a tall beauty walked out. Immediately, everyone was attracted by this beauty, and the angry voices came to an abrupt stop. "Wow, beauty! Who is this? Why does she look like a man-made beauty? Hey, you don't say. The more I look at her, the more she looks like our neighbor from Korea. She's definitely a man-made beauty. Look at her nose. It's definitely been done. She even had double eyelids and a sharp chin. Although I can't see her chest through her clothes, it's most likely fake. Brother, you have sharp eyes. You're an expert. My family runs a plastic surgery hospital. I can tell at a glance." Hearing the discussions of the crowd, everyone was guessing who this man-made beauty was and why her entrance was so flashy. The beauty ignored the boy who fell to the ground as if he didn't exist. She turned to the RV and said a few words. A light cough came from the RV, and then another person walked out. This person had a greasy hair and a powdery face. His body was thin like a bamboo pole. He wore earrings and dyed yellow hair. He had an unruly and frivolous appearance. He raised his head high and looked diagonally upwards. "Wow, it's Park Si-hoon, Appa." A few women screamed in the crowd, and then they rushed toward the man as if they were possessed. But without exception, they were all stopped by the 4 bodyguards. They couldn't get close to the man. Park Si-hoon casually waved his hand, causing the women to scream crazily. Their screams were as loud as a loudspeaker, causing many people to frown. The discussion in the crowd grew louder. He's indeed a Korean. Park Si-hoon, an actor, is very popular now and is known as the national idol of Korea. TSK, idol like him? He's more like a bamboo pole. I don't know what's wrong with these women's taste to fall for this kind of man. Someone snorted. When the women heard this, their faces changed. They became very ferocious and crazy, as if their ancestors' graves were dug up. They pointed at the boy and shouted at the top of their lungs, "What do you know? How can you compare with our Appa? You're just a pile of cow dung, and our Appa is the star in the sky. You don't have the right to talk about him." The boy was shocked, as if he didn't expect that his words would cause such a big reaction. His face turned red, and he didn't know what to do. It was as if the women had met the enemy who had killed their fathers. One after another, they began to crusade against him, talking nonstop. "Ouch, my leg hurts." A weak groan resounded. The boy who was hit by the car had a pale face as he touched his leg in pain. "You guys hit me. Don't go. My leg hurts, and it seems to be broken." Park Si-hoon and the rest acted as if they didn't see him and turned a deaf ear to him. They were about to leave, and they didn't want to care about the boy on the ground. "Is there still law? You guys are too much, not caring about me after hitting me." The boy was in pain and grievance. His face was red with tears flickering in his eyes. He struggled for a while and grabbed onto Park Si-hoon's pants. Park Si-hoon had no choice but to stop and look down at the boy. He curled his lips in disdain and said in stiff Hua-xia language, "Let go. No, you guys are too much, leaving after hitting me." The boy said in grievance. A trace of coldness flashed in Park Si-hoon's eyes as he kicked the boy's chest. Feeling the pain, the boy immediately let go of his hand and held onto his chest as he curled into a ball in pain. "Wow, Appa is so handsome. Appa is a 9th-degree black belt in Taekwondo. How can this guy be his opponent? He's overestimating himself. I think this guy is trying to scam our Appa. Yeah, there are too many scammers nowadays. He actually dared to scam our Appa. Oof, I can't wait to give him a good beating." Chapter 1028. The girls chattered incessantly, using obscenities and distorting the facts to accuse the boys. They looked especially pitiful as they curled up together. Park Si-hoon raised his head proudly with a smug smirk on his face. He strode away under the protection of his bodyguards. The girls' attention was immediately attracted by him, and they screamed, "Appa, I love you. Appa, you're so handsome. Stop right there." Suddenly, a loud and resounding shout rang out, and a person blocked their path. They had no choice but to stop. Park Si-hoon frowned and asked, "What are you doing?" Tang Zheng stared at them coldly. To be honest, he had not been so angry for a long time. He was not even this angry when he faced the Lord of Glory or the 100 Faces Star-Lord. His anger did not only come from these people's disregard for others, but also from those girls. They were Huaxia people, but they did not care about the safety of their fellow countrymen for the sake of a few Koreans. They even used foul language and slandered and hurt their fellow countrymen. This kind of contempt for his fellow countrymen pierced Tang Zheng's heart. He still loved this country deeply. He despised and was angry at such behavior. So he had no choice but to stand up for them. The girls were freshmen and did not know Tang Zheng at all. They were enraged when they saw him. Before Park Si-hoon could say anything, they rushed over impatiently and shouted, "Who are you? Since when do you have the right to tell us what to do?" Tang Zheng looked at them pitifully. Yes, these girls were pitiful. They had lost their roots and souls as Huaxia people. They were empty shells without souls. However, a pitiful person must have something to hate, so he did not sympathize with them. "Are you guys still Huaxia people?" Tang Zheng asked. The girls were stunned and shouted, "Of course I'm Huaxia. Then what are you doing?" "A Korean ran into one of our fellow countrymen. But you're helping the tyrant and denouncing your fellow countrymen. Are you guys blind? Is your heart crooked?" Tang Zheng's voice was as loud as a great bell, so loud that even the deaf could hear. When the girls heard this, they trembled and froze on the spot. But after a while, they came back to their senses as if they had been greatly humiliated. They said, "Who do you think you are? What qualifications do you have to educate us? In front of our Appa, you are just a pile of cow dung." The sneer on Park Si-hoon's lips deepened as he crossed his arms and looked at this scene with interest. He started to chat with the woman beside him in Gaoli, as if there was no one else around. The woman also looked at Tang Zheng and the girls mockingly, covering her mouth and sneering. Tang Zheng didn't understand what they were saying, but he guessed that it wasn't anything good. He coldly swept his gaze over the two. The two actually raised their heads arrogantly and looked at Tang Zheng provocatively. Fang Shishir walked over and said, Tang Zheng, they're saying nasty things. Fang Shishir was a straight-A student since she was young, so she knew a thing or two about Korean. Thus, she could understand the conversation between the two. Sure enough, Tang Zheng said before he asked, what did they say? They said that Huaxia is indeed a lowly race that only knows how to fight amongst themselves, and that they can't even compare to a 10,000th of the Korean race. Fang Shishir said indignantly. She rarely got angry, but when she heard those words, she was so angry that her voice started to tremble. Those words were like a fuse that ignited the suppressed anger in the crowd. They all roared, Koreans, how dare you come to our country and scold us? Get out of our country. A trace of panic flashed through Park Shihun's eyes, but he quickly calmed down and regained his arrogance. The woman beside him immediately put on a straight face and said in fluent Huaxia language, that's slander. We didn't say those words. Move aside, we still have to report. Tang Zheng and Fang Shishir did not move. A trace of viciousness flashed through the woman's eyes as she shouted in Korean. The bodyguards immediately moved and tried to grab Tang Zheng. Fang Shishir couldn't help but make the first move. Her fair hand grabbed onto the bodyguard's wrist and pushed, causing the bodyguard's arm to bounce back. Bang! The bodyguard hand hit his chest, and he was sent flying back like a cannonball, knocking into the bodyguards behind him and causing them to fall to the ground together in a sorry state. The crowd immediately cried out in alarm. No one had expected that the seemingly weak and powerless Fang Shishir would actually have such great strength. Yi Dingdang, who was already filled with righteous indignation, also made a move. However, she didn't aim at the bodyguards, but at the boy on the ground. The girls blocked her way. Yi Dingdang shouted, are you worthy of being Huaxia people? Slap, slap, slap. The girls were slapped in the face. They spun around like spinning tops before falling to the ground. The boy was humiliated. Suddenly, he saw a vigorous and valiant beauty rushing over. For a moment, he seemed to have forgotten the pain. There was only this figure left in his eyes. Even many years later, this figure would often reverberate in his mind. How are you? Yi Dingdang helped the boy up and saw that his ankle was swollen. The boy was dumbfounded. He looked at Yi Dingdang with a red face and was speechless. Is it very painful? Yes. The boy finally woke up from his dream. He sucked in a breath of cold air and heavily nodded. Don't worry. With us here, this group of bullies won't be able to escape, Yi Dingdang resolutely said. The boy hesitantly nodded. Tang Zheng, how's his injury? Yi Dingdang shouted. Tang Zheng walked over. This time, no one stopped him. He bent down to check the injury. He frowned and said, it's dislocated. Bear with it for a while. I'll set your bone right now. It'll be fine in a moment. Oh, the boy was a bit confused and didn't know what to do. Just at this time, he suddenly felt a piercing pain. He wanted to scream, but he found that a warm feeling wrapped around the injury, and the pain immediately disappeared. Why don't you try it now? The boy seemed to wake up from a dream as he blankly looked at his leg. The place that was swollen just now had actually recovered. He was incredulous as he couldn't believe his eyes. He stammered, "This what's going on?" As he spoke, he moved his legs and tried to walk 2 steps with Yi Dingdang's help. It doesn't hurt anymore. The boy cheered. He turned his head to look at Yi Dingdang, but found that she was still holding his shoulder. Immediately, his cheeks flushed red and his eyes became flustered. He didn't know what to do. When the other boys saw this scene, they all cried out in their hearts. "Brat, why are you so lucky? Let me do it. I'll suffer a little and get to enjoy this treatment." Yi Dingdang casually let go of her hand and said, "It's good that you can walk." When she finished speaking, she turned around and walked towards Park Shihun and coldly said, "We should deal with him now." Fang Shishir blocked the path of the Koreans, but they did not force their way in. Park Shihun looked at Fang Shishir with interest. Her clean move just now was an eye-opener for him. His heart was moved. This girl was both beautiful and skilled. Wasn't she my type? Thus, he revealed a smile that once charmed thousands of fans and said to Fang Shishir, "Beauty, my name is Park Shihun. Can we be friends?" Fang Shishu looked at him with disgust and said, "A person like you is not fit to be my friend." Great! The crowd immediately cheered. Beauty, well done. A heroine among women. A heroine. That woman finally couldn't hold it in and reprimanded. "Who do you think you are? How dare you speak to our Park Sherhoon with such an ugly face? He's our national idol. TSK, are you blind? She's 100 times prettier than you." Right? A man-made beauty who has undergone plastic surgery. She still doesn't know how troubled she is and dares to come out and make a fool of herself. "Meiji, don't lower yourself to their level," Park Sherhoon said arrogantly. "Right. How can I, Jean Meiji, lower myself to their level? Wouldn't that lower my own level? Sherhoon, let's go and report first. Don't let these people delay our work," Jean Meiji urged. "I'll remember you," Park Sherhoon said to Fang Shishu. "Stop. Are you guys deaf?" Tang Zheng stood in front of them and asked with an unfriendly expression. Park Sherhoon was amiable towards Fang Shishu, but not towards Tang Zheng. He waved his hand in disgust and said, "Get out of the way." The other two bodyguards' fists simultaneously struck towards Tang Zheng's chest. Tang Zheng's eyes flashed with an ominous glint as he struck out with lightning speed. Kacha, the two bodyguards' arms were immediately broken, revealing eerie white bones. Screams immediately burst out from their lungs and throat and soared into the sky. When the others saw this, their hearts trembled, but they felt relieved. These people from different races dared to behave atrociously. This was what they deserved. Among them, those who had seen Tang Zheng deal with the island nation students had their eyes lit up. They knew that there was a good show to watch. This group of Koreans didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. They actually dared to provoke Tang Zheng. This time, they really couldn't bear the consequences. Seeing that the galley people were unlucky, they all felt proud and elated. In an instant, they had a backbone and looked at Tang Zheng with burning eyes. Park Sherhoon looked at Tang Zheng in astonishment. He couldn't see through Tang Zheng's strength, so he was surprised by his skills. However, he thought highly of himself and didn't put Tang Zheng in his eyes. He looked at him with contempt and said, "I recently learned a new idiom from your Huaxia. Bring shame upon yourself. You're bringing shame upon yourself right now. How can a foreigner like you understand the profound Huaxia language? How dare you use this idiom so shamelessly? Humph, since you brought it up, then I'll let you understand the essence of this idiom." Tang Zheng approached the other party step by step. "Sherhoon, teach him a lesson. Let him know how powerful you are." Jean Meiji instigated. Park Sherhoon sneered and walked over. He stretched his body and said, "You asked for it." Before he finished speaking, he sent a kick towards Tang Zheng. Clearly, he wanted to gain the initiative by striking first. As expected of a 9th-degree black belt, Tang Zheng also sent out a kick as fast as lightning. Pa! Chapter 1029. A heart-wrenching scream filled the air as Park Sherhoon's face made contact with the ground. 2 streams of blood spurted out from his nostrils, making him look battered and exhausted. Good. It was unknown who cheered, but immediately cheers and shouts of praise rose and fell one after another. Clearly, Park Sherhoon's actions earlier had aroused public anger. The few girls who were clamoring earlier no longer dared to shout. Instead, they glared at the crowd with eyes that seemed to be spitting fire. It was as if they were enemies who killed their fathers. Tang Zheng's impassioned speech did not touch their hearts in the slightest. They continued to do as they pleased. Jean Meiji stared blankly at the scene. This had never happened before. In the past, when they came to Huaxia, they were always welcomed with open arms. Initially, they were at a loss for what to do, but later they got used to it. No matter what they did, the Huaxia people would still treat them like gods. They were even more important than their ancestors and parents. In the beginning, they were very careful as they were afraid of offending the huge Huaxia market. However, they later realized that their worries were unnecessary. No matter what mistakes they made, they were still unique and cool in the eyes of the fans. If anyone dared to make irresponsible remarks, The fans would gang up on them without them needing to say anything. Their vulgar words were unbearable to the ears, causing them to avoid them as if they were rabid dogs. After enjoying this kind of treatment a few times, they felt that the Huaxia market was too good. It was tailor-made for them. It was even better than Korea. That was why they were so arrogant and bossy. This was something they did not dare to do in China, but they could do it openly in Huaxia. However, everything was overturned today. Someone actually hit Park Shi-hoon in front of everyone. Wasn't this overturning the heavens? What was Park Shi-hoon doing at Yenching University? This was the right to study abroad exchange that he had fought for. In order to expand the Huaxia market, artists had no choice but to learn the Huaxia culture. Especially learning a few sentences of Huaxia language was very necessary. If they spoke a few sentences of stiff Huaxia language during a concert or program, it would win waves of screams from the fans, as if it was a climax. But to be beaten up before he even entered the school was simply too vile. Jean Meiji was not afraid, only angry. She rushed toward Tang Zheng without any scruples, baring her fangs and brandishing her claws as if she was crazy. She was Park Si-hoon's manager. In fact, she used to be a Huaxia citizen as well. After she migrated to Korea, she considered herself to be a Korean. She even hated it when people said that she used to be a Huaxia citizen. You still dare to act crazy? There's no need for Tang Zheng to deal with a woman. Watch how I, Ding Dang, teach you how to be a woman today. Yi Ding Dang shouted and stopped Jean Meiji, giving her a slap. She spun around, and before she could regain her balance, Yi Ding Dang gave her another slap, causing her to spin around again. She was dumbfounded. Didn't women fight by grabbing hair and tearing clothes? Why didn't she play by the rules? It wasn't that Jean Meiji had not fought with women before, but she had never encountered such a situation. She stood there dumbfounded, with her cheeks turning red like a monkey's butt. Yi Ding Dang pursed her lips. You dare to make a scene in Huaxia and Yenching University with such little ability? Do you really think that the entire universe is Korea's backyard? Wah! Jean Meiji's tears flowed out of her eyes as she began to wail like a child. She pointed at Yi Ding Dang and roared while choking with sobs. You guys are dead. I will sue you. Just wait and go to jail. Tang Zheng looked at her mockingly and said, Jail? What a joke. Is the law set by your family? This is not the last century where foreigners are superior, especially a small country like Korea, which has never been treated this way. Jean Meiji was speechless. Park Shi-hoon finally woke up from the pain and looked at his deformed leg. His eyes were bloodshot and he roared, My leg is broken. You have to go to jail. Hurry up and inform the embassy to arrest them. Hearing this, the crowd pointed and discussed animatedly. How shameless. You can't win, and you want to inform the embassy? Where's the arrogance you had when you bumped into people just now? That's right. Bullying the weak and fearing the strong. How dare you bully our fellow countrymen? We can't compromise. Down with the Korean Bangzi. Get out of Huaxia, Korean Bangzi. The crowd was stirred up. These people had endured for too long. They had seen too much of the ugliness and arrogance of this group of so-called stars. They had long been dissatisfied with them. They just lacked a fuse. As for those brainless fans, after all, they were only a minority among the more than 1 billion people in the vast Huaxia. Most people in Huaxia had a tolerant heart and chose to tolerate their usual behavior. However, the anger and dissatisfaction in their hearts had accumulated to a critical point. Most people had a healthy personality and moral values. They angrily rebuked Park Shi-hoon and his group for their immoral behavior. Especially when many people dug up his past misdeeds, the students who did not know the cause and effect and did not pay attention to them were filled with righteous indignation. Back then, when they faced the Japanese of the island nation, they had never been so aggrieved. Each and every one of the iron-blooded men went to the battlefield to kill the enemy and fought bravely for the motherland. Now that the country was flourishing, they had become an inferior nation. No matter who it was, any foreigner dared to commit crimes in Huaxia without being punished. Catch him and send him back to his country. This kind of person does not deserve to stay in our motherland. Yes, catch him and send him out. Looking at the agitated faces, Park Sherhoon raised his head as if he was humiliated. He shouted, "I'm an international student invited by Yenching University. What do you have to send me away?" International student of Yenching University? The crowd was stunned for a moment before they burst out in even louder voices. Yenching University does not need a student like you. That's an insult to our century-old university. Get out of our university. Otherwise, I won't be able to say that I'm from Yenching University. Yes, get out of our university. Yenching University does not need a student like you. Park Sherhoon was stunned. He did not expect that not only did his argument not make them stop, it made them even angrier. What was going on? Why was it so different from what he had seen before? At this moment, a group of security guards walked over from the crowd. The leader was a middle-aged man. "What are you doing?" The man asked with a solemn face. Jean Meiji acted as if she had seen her savior. Ignoring the pain on her face, she grabbed the man's hand and said excitedly, "Vice Principal Peng, you came at the right time. Today, our Sherhoon Appa came to report to school, but we encountered this group of lawless and arrogant people. Look at how badly we were beaten up. Even Appa's leg was broken. Hurry up and catch them and throw them in jail." Vice Principal Peng was shocked. His face was as dark as the sky before a storm. He looked around and asked sternly, "Who is so cruel to do this to an international friend?" No one answered him. Instead, they looked at him with ridicule. Some people began to whisper among themselves. "Who is this person? That woman called him vice principal. I don't think there's such a person in our university. You're ignorant. I'm in the student union. I've heard that there will be a vice principal this semester. I heard that he's a returnee from overseas." Then this is bad. A new official sweeps clean. Won't Tang Jun be punished? Vice Principal Peng was pleased with himself when he heard the discussions. He had just been appointed, and he had indeed made drastic changes. If he didn't punish the chicken to warn the monkey, who would be afraid of him in the future? Vice Principal Peng studied abroad in Korea for many years. Later on, he became a teacher in a high school in Korea and rapidly rose to the position of vice principal. Initially, he had never thought of returning to China, but now that he saw Huaxia rising up, he was tempted. After all, a small country like Korea was not as good as China, and his development potential was limited. Therefore, through various connections and various operations, he finally managed to get the position of vice principal of Yenching University after a lot of effort. He was the one who invited Park Si-hoon. As his first action, he hoped to use Park Si-hoon's influence to attract more young people to apply to Yenching University. He wanted to use this opportunity to expand his influence in Yenching University. He was delayed by some matters today, so he was a little late to welcome Park Si-hoon. He never expected that something like this would happen. Naturally, he was shocked and furious. How dare someone hit someone he invited? Wasn't this a slap to his face? How could he tolerate this? He had to punish the chicken to warn the monkey. Wasn't this just a chicken? Who hit him? Come out. Vice Principal Peng roared with his hands on his waist and his belly bulging. "I hit him." Tang Jung took a step forward and said indifferently. He didn't take a new principle to heart. Moreover, everything was about reason. These Koreans were clearly in the wrong, so why should he be afraid of them? Vice Principal Peng was arrogant as he coldly looked at Tang Jung and said, "You don't have the slightest bit of remorse for hitting someone, and you're still so arrogant. Which class are you from?" "I'm a second-year student of Yenching University's Archaeology Department, Tang Jung." Tang Jung replied without batting an eyelid. "Archaeology Department? Second year? How arrogant. How did Yenching University produce a student like you? Do you know what kind of behavior this is? I just beat up a few self-righteous Koreans who dare to not treat Chinese people as people on Chinese soil." Since the other party was not prepared to speak properly, Tang Jung did not hesitate to retaliate. "Audacious! You're slandering an international friend and tarnishing the country's image. Can you bear this responsibility?" Vice Principal Peng had seen his fair share of storms and did not place Tang Jung in his eyes at all. Even though the other was indifferent, in his heart, as long as he flipped out and put a big hat on the other, he would teach the other a lesson. Then the other would definitely be uneasy and kneel down to beg for mercy. Tang Zheng flung his lips and snorted. You think you're worthy of mentioning the country's image. Chapter 10:30. Vice Principal Pang's face turned red as he roared. You're Tang Zheng, right? Not only did you disregard the law, but you also dare to talk back to me. As the vice principal, I can tell you right now that Yenching University doesn't need students like you. Tang Zheng sneered. Is that so? Yes. Yenching University doesn't need students like you who disregard the law, disrespect, and violence. Just you wait to be expelled. Vice Principal Pang's voice became louder and louder. It was even a little shrill. It seemed that this was the only way to show off his power. I also hit someone. Expel me too. Fang Shishir stepped forward and stood beside Tang Zheng. Her face was full of anger. Seeing her beloved being wronged, one could imagine the anger in her heart. I also hit someone. Expel me if you dare. If you don't expel me, you're a coward. Yidingdang's small face was red from anger. She wanted nothing more than to punch Vice Principal Pang in the face. Vice Principal Pang was dazzled by the two beauties who stepped forward. They were too beautiful. If it were any other time, he would definitely hold their hands and teach them. However, Yidingdang's clamor put him in an awkward position. If he didn't expel them, he would be a coward. He didn't want to be called a coward on his first day as a new official. He was about to passionately reprimand them to let them know their mistakes. However, he didn't expect someone to come out of the crowd. The person's body was as tall as a mountain. He shouted angrily, I also hit someone. Expel me too. Tang Zheng turned his head and looked. It was his second brother, Sinosaurus. Sinosaurus and the others were also welcoming the new students. When they heard the commotion, they ran over and happened to see this scene. Blood rushed to his head, and he didn't hesitate to stand up for his brother. Vice Principal Pang looked at Sinosaurus in shock. Don't be funny. You clearly squeezed in from the back. How could you be the one who hit someone? Before he could figure out the situation, he saw two people squeezing in. Wang Shiji and Zhou Yan had a tacit understanding and said in unison, I also hit someone. You should fire me too. Vice Principal Pang's face darkened. He finally understood that these people were in cahoots with Tang Zheng. They were here to kick up a fuss and embarrass him. Who was Vice Principal Pang? How could such a scene scare him? Therefore, he said in a deep voice, All right, since you've admitted it, then wait for the school's punishment. Yenching University doesn't need students like you. As soon as his voice fell, a few more people squeezed in, but they were all beautiful girls. Each of them was like a fearless warrior, standing behind Tang Zheng without hesitation, and said in a loud and resonant voice, I also hit people. You should fire me too. Tang Zheng looked at them gratefully. They were Yi Dingdong's roommates. The few of them nodded encouragingly at Tang Zheng. His actions today had won their respect and recognition. Vice Principal Pang was at a loss. Just who was this brat? Why did so many people stand out for him? These people must be in cahoots. That's why they're so united. If it was anyone else, they would definitely admit defeat. But I've seen all sorts of storms. You guys are too inexperienced to play such tricks in front of me. Vice Principal Pang snorted in disdain. All right, since that's the case, I'll fulfill your wishes. Vice Principal Pang roared majestically. He felt as if he was an ancient emperor who ruled over the life and death of others. It felt great. The other students looked at each other with red eyes. Even the girls stood out for injustice. Could it be that they, as grown men, were not as brave as the girls? The students clenched their fists. Suddenly, a person took a few steps forward and stood behind Tang Zheng. He said fearlessly, I also hit people. You should fire me too. Vice Principal Pang was stunned. He stared at the fearless fellow with a murderous gaze and said in his heart, I'll fulfill your wishes. But before he could say anything, he saw students one by one walk behind Tang Zheng, loudly shouting, I also hit people. You should also expel me. The crowd was stirred up, and their voices rose and fell one after another. This was the most sincere expression of emotion as a student and instinctive support, but often many people would scoff at it and disdain it. But seeing hundreds of people working together to support Tang Zhong, one would know who was right and who was wrong, and what was the will of the people. When the new students reported in, there were many parents accompanying them. When they saw this scene, they couldn't help but feel excited. It was as if they had returned to their youthful days. The edges and corners that had been worn away by life over the years seemed to have grown back. With a red face, they said to their children, "Do you see? This is the spirit of a university. Learn from your seniors." Many of the new students were boiling with passion. They threw down their suitcases and rushed behind Tang Zhong. They shouted, "I also hit people. You should fire me too." When the parents saw their children's actions, they didn't blame them. Instead, they revealed gratified expressions. Most Huaxia people had such genes and blood in their bones. They just needed an opportunity to trigger it. There was no doubt that this accidental incident had become a trigger, arousing their long-hidden hot blood. Vice Principal Pang was dumbfounded. He looked at the scene in disbelief. He never expected the students to be so united. This kind of strength made his heart tremble. He felt a long-lost fear. However, he immediately suppressed this absurd thought. His face darkened, and he thought to himself, "Fanning the flames, these students can't be allowed to stay. The law doesn't punish the majority of the people. As long as I tell them the pros and cons, these people will naturally know to be afraid." But he couldn't see the people behind him. His voice couldn't be heard. Suddenly, he had an idea. Suddenly, he saw the Mercedes-Benz and quickly climbed up to the roof of the car. Looking down at the crowd, he waved his hand and shouted, "Quiet, everyone, be quiet. Listen to me. I know that most of you are good students. Don't be fooled by a bad student. This is irresponsible to yourself and to your parents. Everyone disperse, disperse. We were not bewitched by others. We have our own judgment and sense of right and wrong. We are doing this to be responsible for ourselves and our parents." Someone refuted loudly, "That's right. I make my own decisions. It's not up to you to tell me what to do. Get lost. Yenching University doesn't need a leader like you." That's right. This kind of leader is the shame of Yenching University. He's helping outsiders to suppress his own students. Shameless. Vice Principal Pang panicked when he heard the complaints. Things seemed to be out of his control. "What right do you have to be so high and mighty? What right do you have to tell us what to do? You're nothing. You don't have a right." The students were even angrier when they saw him looking down at them. Suddenly, a loud and clear voice sounded. "Rise up, people who don't want to be slaves." The voice ignited everyone's emotions. It was as if they had returned to the Huaxia era. Everyone's eyes were red. They looked at Vice Principal Pang as if he was an invader. "Rise up, rise up, rise up. We're united, braving the enemy's gunfire. Advance, 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 advance." The voice seemed to come from the chest and heart. It was filled with endless power. It made people's blood boil and tears filled their eyes. Every time the last 3 lines of advance was sung, all the students took a step forward. The uniform footsteps were like the sound of iron hooves, trampling on Vice Principal Pang's heart, making his heartstrings tremble and his face turn pale. The Korean people were scared out of their wits. The overwhelming momentum and the loud and clear voice made them see the spirit of the Huaxia people. It was the soul of the Huaxia people. Park Shi-hoon didn't have time to care about his pain. He quickly hid in the car and didn't dare to show his face. The arrogance he had just now was gone. What was left was deep shock and fear. The few of them huddled together and looked at each other while trembling. Vice Principal Pang's face turned pale. He didn't expect the students in China to be so powerful. Listening to the deafening voice, he felt as if thousands of knives were falling on his head. He suddenly had an ominous feeling. It seemed that things weren't as simple as he thought. Looking at the high and mighty Vice Principal Pang, the students' emotions once again reached a peak. One of them yelled, "You're standing so high up. Do you think you're so high and mighty? And those Korean people, do you think everything will be fine after they hide in the car? Smash the car and drag them out." Everyone echoed, "Yes, smash their car and drag them out. Let's see how they're going to act all high and mighty." Hundreds of people rushed toward the 2 luxury cars. Bang! Everyone picked up their tools and smashed them on the car. The glass shattered and the car was dented. It looked like the surface of the moon. Vice Principal Pang stood on the roof of the car. He was still in shock. He felt like he was a small boat in the middle of the ocean that could be overturned by the waves at any time. At this time, he didn't have the energy to rebuke. Even the security guards were scared. They kept retreating and didn't dare to stop them. Vice Principal Pang scrambled down from the roof and hid in the security guard's encirclement. He trembled in anger and fear as he watched the scene. "Come out. Are you a coward? Hiding in the car?" Park Sherhoon and the rest hid in the car. They didn't dare to come out. "If you don't want to come out, then drag them out and smash the car door." Bang, bang, bang. The sound of the car door knocking was like knocking on their hearts. They were scared to the extreme and huddled together. Without a doubt, this would be a nightmare that would follow them for the rest of their lives. "Let me do it." Chapter 1031. Park Sherhoon and the rest were dragged out of the car. Then, huge fists rained down on them. They only had time to clench their fists and huddle together. They were no longer as arrogant as before. Seeing this, Vice Principal Pang was so scared that he shouted, "Run!" He tried to leave this place under the protection of the security guards. However, the eyes of the crowd were sharp. Immediately, someone shouted, "Don't let him escape." Sinosaurus dashed forward and pushed the security guards away. He grabbed Vice Principal Pang's collar and flung him back. He immediately fell into the sea of people. "Ah!" Screams were heard immediately. *MBR Tang Zheng did not expect things to turn out this way, but he did not stop them immediately. They asked for it. If they had not angered the crowd, they would not have ended up like this. "Stop hitting them! Stop hitting them!" The commotion finally attracted the attention of the principal. He brought a group of security guards and stopped them from afar. The students were still in awe of the principal. They stopped after a few more punches. They were rescued from encirclement in a sorry state. Park Sehun's face was bruised and bruised. He no longer looked like a celebrity. Vice Principal Pang also took a lot of punches. His face was swollen like a pig's. The principal almost could not recognize him. The principal did not question them like the vice principal. Instead, he tried to understand the cause and effect of the incident. He knew that his students were not thugs. There must be a reason for this. After knowing the cause and effect of the incident, the principal glared at Vice Principal Pang fiercely. Then, he comforted the students gently. Finally, he left with a few of them, leaving behind the two wrecked cars. The students immediately cheered as if they had won a big battle. Recalling the scene just now, everyone's blood was still boiling. Everyone's gaze towards Tang Zheng became more and more complicated. He was the catalyst for this matter, and if he was not the first to stand out, it would not have stirred up everyone's emotions and caused them to stand out one after another. Everyone gradually realized that unity was strength, and the reactionaries were paper tigers. As long as everyone was united, they could crush them in minutes. Vice Principal Pang walked away, relieved that he had survived. He sucked in a breath of cold air and said fiercely, "Principal, we must arrest that Tang Zheng. He's the instigator. A black sheep like him can't be allowed to stay in the school. Otherwise, he'll be a big disaster for our school. He's a ticking time bomb that can explode at any time." Vice Principal Pang talked nonstop, as if he was going to list Tang Zheng's heinous crimes. He shouted himself hoarse, exaggerating as much as he could. "That's enough." The principal shouted, his face frosty. This incident had caused a huge uproar. Furthermore, it happened during the welcoming ceremony of the new students. With so many parents present, the impact was extremely bad. He had just suppressed the anger in his heart, but that didn't mean that he wasn't angry. This was the first time such a situation had happened in the 100 years since the founding of the school. It was a disgrace to the school. Looking at the pig-headed Vice Principal Pang, he couldn't help but feel regret. He should have resisted the pressure from the higher-ups and rejected this *T stir. He hadn't been in office for long, yet he had already caused such a thing. He really didn't know if he was an idiot or not. Seeing that the principal didn't say a word, Vice Principal Pang was angry and resentful. He continued, "Principal, we can't just let this go. I know that your words of comfort just now were just a temporary measure. Let's discuss the next step. We must teach these lawless students a lesson. Those leaders must be caught and punished by law. We must make an example out of them and teach them a good lesson. The principal finally stopped and looked at Vice Principal Pang with an unkind expression. What do you want? Expel Tang Zheng and punish the rest of the black sheep. Expel? Ha! The principal laughed mockingly. Vice Principal Pang was confused by this laugh. He asked, "What do you think, Principal? I spent a lot of effort to get Tang Zheng here, and you want to expel him with just a few words? Are you out of your mind?" Then again, the principal was shrewd and naturally wouldn't be so blunt. Thus, he faintly said, "You don't have to worry about this matter. Furthermore, that Park Si-hoon is too lacking. He didn't even ask about it after bumping into someone. His arrogance will affect the reputation of our Yinxing University. Principal, I spent a lot of effort to get him here. He has a huge influence. Furthermore, this matter must be a misunderstanding. He's actually a gentle and humble person." Vice Principal Pang was shocked and immediately tried to defend himself. The principal briefly hesitated before he glanced at Vice Principal Pang. "Don't do it again. If he does something bad again, then our school will not welcome a black sheep like him." Vice Principal Pang was dumbfounded. Why was the principal so strict? Wasn't this just throwing his face? But after all, they were the principal and vice principal. Even if it was throwing his face, there was nothing he could say. Thus, he could only grit his teeth and swallow it. Vice Principal Pang resentfully left. Looking at his departing figure, the principal dryly laughed. This overseas returnee really doesn't know anything about the situation in the country. Who is Tang Zheng? Is he someone you can afford to offend? Tang Zheng's emotions calmed down. On the other hand, his friends were in high spirits as they chatted among themselves. They came to a restaurant outside the school in high spirits. "OL Sen, we beat up those Koreans and Vice Principal Pang. Will they be fine?" Wang Shiji worriedly asked. Sinosaurus's coarse voice was the first to speak. "Boss, you're worrying for nothing. Who's OL San? Those Koreans want to go against OL San? Dream on." Zhou Yin nodded his head in agreement. "You guys don't have to worry. The law can't punish the masses. Furthermore, they were the ones in the wrong, so it's impossible for them to trigger us. Actually, today's battle was really satisfying. Yes, it's 2F*King satisfying. I've long disliked that group of sissies. Men should be more masculine. Now, all the girls in the country like the sissy Xiao Bai's face. It's completely distorted aesthetics." Sinosaurus stretched his arms and displayed a very manly action, feeling indignant. The other girls also nodded in agreement. Men still have to be more manly. Haha, this is a good young woman with good taste. I really didn't make friends with you guys in vain. Sinosaurus laughed loudly. This is a world that looks at faces. Even if you don't like sissies, you're too ugly. A few bad friends immediately attacked. Sinosaurus didn't mind. You guys are just jealous. I already have a girlfriend, so I'm not afraid of you guys attacking me. After saying that, he hugged his girlfriend with a complacent look on his face. "OL 3, we were shocked when we heard that you weren't going to school anymore. Now that you're back, our dorm mates can be together again." Wang Shiji changed the topic. Tang Zheng gave his roommates a deep look. He had already imparted the cultivation method to them, allowing them to benefit a lot. Even though they were not as fast as Fong Shishir and the others, they still had a small harvest. It was clear that they did not stop cultivating during the summer vacation. "OL 3 definitely can't bear to part with us, right?" Sinosaurus said. Tang Zheng nodded his head and said with a smile, "Yes, the school is a peaceful harbor. Actually, school life is really not bad. I'll try to stay in school for a while longer." Zhou Yin said, "OL 3 is a busy person. Anyway, when you have nothing to do, just come back and see his brothers." "That's for sure. All right, have you guys heard? Goddess Tang Linger is coming to Beijing for a concert." Sinosaurus suddenly lowered his voice and winked. "Really?" Wang Shiji was shocked and full of interest. Tang Linger is too beautiful, and her singing is also very good. Although she hasn't been in the industry for long, she already has a lot of fans. I'm afraid the concert tickets must be very expensive. After saying that, his expression darkened. His family condition was the worst in the dorm, so he usually scrimped and saved. Naturally, he didn't have any money left to watch the concert. Tang Zheng was stunned for a moment. Linger's popularity was already so high. Even his roommates had become her fans. Sigh, I asked around earlier. The tickets for Tang Linger's concert are very popular. Many people in our school were the first to buy tickets online, but later on, there were no tickets to buy at all. I heard that they could only buy tickets at high price. Sinosaurus said with a face of disappointment. Zhou Yin thought for a while and said, I'll think of a way to see if I can get a few tickets, but I don't dare to make any guarantees. We want to see it too. The other girls joined in the fun. There are so many beautiful girls at the concert. We can't let you boys go alone. Otherwise, those girls will be too dangerous. Zhou Yin had a difficult expression on his face. Now that the tickets are so tight, I can't guarantee that I can get so many tickets. OL3, are you going? Sinosaurus asked. Speaking of which, you and Tang Linger are both surnamed Tang. 500 years ago, you were even a family. Yi Dingdang and Fong Shishir looked at each other. Yi Dingdang was about to speak, but was stopped by Fong Shishir with her eyes. The relationship between Tang Zheng and Tang Linger was not known to many people, so there was no need to make it public. Yi Dingdang swallowed her words. Tang Zheng coughed dryly and said, I'll think of a way. The others' eyes lit up as they asked, OL3, you have a way? Maybe I'll do my best. Tang Zheng did not know if there were still tickets for the concert, so he could only call Linger later to ask. Haha, that's great. OL3's methods are wild, so he definitely has a way. The excitement of the few of them was beyond words. OL3, let me tell you, Tang Linger is very beautiful, just like Ding Dang and Shishir. They're all great beauties, just different types. Sinosaurus's eyes lit up as he introduced. Aren't we great beauties too? The other girls glared at him, scaring Sinosaurus so much that he shrank his neck and quickly tried to salvage the situation. Of course you're beautiful. You're like fairies descending to the mortal world. These words really go against my heart. The few of them rolled their eyes. After lunch, the few of them immediately threw themselves into the work of welcoming the new students. Tang Zheng attracted the attention of countless people. Many people pointed at him from afar or gave him a thumbs up. Among them, there was no lack of new female students who had witnessed the scene. They frequently cast flirtatious glances at Tang Zheng. Ding Ling Ling. Chapter 1032. It was Du Qifeng who called him. Mr. Du, what's the matter? Hearing Du Qifeng's anxious voice, Tang Zheng went straight to the point. Mr. Tang, I wouldn't have bothered you if it wasn't so urgent, Du Qifeng said in fear and trepidation. Tang Zheng nodded secretly and asked, The King of Medicine should have gone to your house. How is your wife? That's why I'm calling. Alas, I can't explain it clearly in a few words. Let the senior King of Medicine explain it to you. Du Qifeng sighed and said wearily, Master. The King of Medicine's voice came. Tang Zheng had been used to this cheap apprentice's name. He asked, King of Medicine, what's the problem? Master, Mrs. Du's condition is very strange. I've controlled her condition after taking medicine, but it flared up again the next day, and then it became more and more serious. The medicine didn't work at all. The King of Medicine's voice was a little low. He was very interested in difficult and complicated diseases, and he had conquered many difficult and complicated diseases. However, the situation this time made him a little confused, so he had to call Tang Zheng for help. Oh, Tang Zheng's head sank. If the King of Medicine couldn't do anything, then what kind of strange disease did Mrs. Du have? Master, I don't know what to do. Can you come here? The King of Medicine found it difficult to speak, and he was a little ashamed. Hearing this, Tang Zheng's curiosity was aroused. He asked, My treatment skills are not as good as yours. If you can't do anything, I may not be able to do anything. Master, Madame Du doesn't seem to be sick. The Medicine King stuttered, hesitating to speak. Tang Zheng moved his head and frowned. He asked, If she doesn't seem to be sick, then what is it? I don't know. but it's a little similar to the folklore about being possessed by evil spirits. I'm not sure. After all, there's no scientific basis for this kind of thing, and I've never seen it before. The King of Medicine's voice also lowered, as if he was not confident in his judgment. Tang Zheng was a cultivator. He knew very well that not everything in the world could be explained by current scientific knowledge. Being possessed by evil spirits was not something that was fabricated out of thin air. The phone was transferred to Du Qifeng again. Du Qifeng anxiously begged, "Young Master Tang, I know this is too much, but for the sake of my wife's life, I really beg you. You're my last hope." Tang Zheng had thought that the King of Medicine would be able to cure him, but now it seemed that he was too optimistic. Moreover, Du Qifeng had helped him before, so he couldn't stay out of this matter no matter what. Now that school had just started, there was not much to do, so he could take the opportunity to go to Du Qifeng's house. "Okay, send me the detailed address. I'll be there today." Du Qifeng was overjoyed and said gratefully, "Thank you, young Master Tang. Thank you so much. I'll book a plane ticket for you right away." "You don't have to book a plane ticket. I have a way to get there." Tang Zheng declined Du Qifeng's kindness. Since he could fly freely on his sword, he realized more and more the convenience of flying on his sword. It was faster than taking a plane, and he didn't have to wait for a plane. He could stop and go as he pleased. Du Qifeng didn't get to the bottom of it and quickly told him the address. His house was in Shanghai, which was not too far from Beijing. It would take nearly 2 hours by plane. Tang Zheng estimated that he could get there in more than an hour. He didn't leave in a hurry, but dialed Ling Er's phone first. The girl was very excited when she received the call from Tang Zheng. She jumped up and said, "Master, you finally called Ling Er." "Ling Er, are you tired from the concert rehearsals?" Tang Zheng asked with concern. "I'm tired, but after receiving Master's call, Ling Er is not tired at all. I'm full of energy again," Ling Er said excitedly. "If you're tired, then rest. Don't tire yourself out, okay?" Yes, Ling Er knows." "Ling Er, do you still have tickets for your concert?" "Tickets? I don't know. I'll ask." After saying that, her voice came from the phone. "Sister Amy, do you still have tickets for my concert?" "My lady, the tickets for your concert are selling like hotcakes. The tickets online have long been sold out," Amy said happily. Ling Er's mouth flattened and said, "Is there no other way? Do you have a friend who needs tickets?" "Master does." Amy quivered and quickly said, "Yes, of course." What a joke. If her boss doesn't have tickets, then she doesn't need to work anymore. Ling Er beamed with joy. "Thank you, Sister Amy. Master, I still have tickets." The corner of Tang Zheng's mouth raised as he gave a knowing smile and said, "I heard it. Just remember to leave me a few. When the time comes, I will go to your concert." "Really?" Ling Er was surprised and happy. "Master, don't worry. Ling Er will practice harder. I won't disappoint Master." Tang Zheng said a few more words of concern and hung up the phone. He said goodbye to his family and went to the suburbs. He flew to Shanghai on his sword. After passing through the thick clouds, Shanghai was right below him. He landed in the suburbs. He took a taxi and went straight to Du Qifeng's house. This was a seaside villa area. The scenery was very charming. When Du Qifeng received Tang Zheng's call, he was very surprised because it had only been an hour since he called. Even a plane wouldn't be that fast. Could it be that Tang Zheng was already here? When he saw Tang Zheng standing in front of him alive, he couldn't help but feel deeply shocked. He couldn't believe his eyes and asked, "Young Master Tang, how did you get here so quickly?" Tang Zheng didn't answer and asked, "Where is the patient?" Du Qifeng woke up from his dream and felt a little more confident. Tang Zheng's methods were more powerful than he thought. Then wouldn't his wife have a greater chance of being saved? "Young Master Tang, please come with me." Du Qifeng led Tang Zheng into the villa area and to his house. The King of Medicine was already waiting at the door. He greeted him from distance, grabbed Tang Zheng's hand, shook it a few times excitedly, and said, "Master, you're finally here. It's good that you're here." Looking at the King of Medicine's excited look and the two words "Master" that came out of his mouth, Du Qifeng thought that he was dreaming. Although he was mentally prepared when he called before, he still couldn't hide the shock in his heart when he saw this scene with his own eyes. This was mainly because the king of medicine's position in the apricot forest was too high. No one could surpass him. Now seeing him call Tang Zheng master sincerely, no matter who it was, they would have the same feeling in their hearts. Thank you for your hard work. Tang Zheng nodded to the king of medicine. He personally contacted the king of medicine some time ago and told him about Du Qifeng. That was why he came to Shanghai. Otherwise, with Du Qifeng's reputation, he couldn't even see the king of medicine. It's not hard, it's not hard. The king of medicine quickly shook his head and said bitterly, I'm ashamed. I originally thought that the medicine would cure the disease, but I didn't expect it to be so different from what I imagined. Until now, I still haven't determined what disease she has. This was a situation he had never encountered before. Naturally, he was very distressed. Let's go see the patient first. Tang Zheng recalled that Qin Baishan's wife had been possessed by the evil spirit in the Millennium Blood Jade, so he wasn't too worried. Young Master Tang, king of medicine, please come in. Du Qifeng came to his senses and quickly opened the door. He respectfully invited them in and went straight to his wife's room. After pushing the door and entering, Tang Zheng saw a person standing in front of the windowsill. When she heard the sound, she turned her head. It was the face of a middle-aged woman. She was well-maintained and full of charm. She glanced at Tang Zheng lightly and said to Du Qifeng, Qifeng, who is this? Tang Zheng frowned. This person looked no different from a normal person. She didn't seem to be possessed. Let me introduce you. This is young Master Tang, and this is my wife. Du Qifeng quickly introduced them. Tang Zheng nodded slightly. Mrs. Du, nice to meet you. Madame Du responded politely. Tang Zheng glanced at Mrs. Du suspiciously, but still couldn't find any clues. He couldn't help but look at Du Qifeng and the king of medicine. Mrs. Du, you should rest first. Du Qifeng closed the door and whispered to Tang Zheng, young Master Tang, when she's not ill, she's no different from a normal person. Once she's ill, his face became a little pale, and he glanced at the king of medicine. Senior king of medicine has seen it. It's really strange. What kind of evil technique is this? Du Qifeng thought for a while and organized his words. It's as if she's a different person. It's a strange feeling. I've lived with her for decades, so I know it very well. I've never had that strange feeling, except when she's ill. The king of medicine also nodded. I thought it was a split personality, but later it was confirmed that it wasn't. That's why I suspect that she's possessed. Du Qifeng's face was pale, and he asked, young Master Tang, is there any way? Tang Zheng didn't express his opinion, but asked, when will she be ill? At night. Tang Zheng looked out of the window. It was still a few hours away from night. It seemed that they had to wait. Can I check now? Yes, thank you so much, young Master Tang. Du Qifeng said excitedly. They entered the room again. Mrs. Du was still standing quietly in front of the window, overlooking the blue sea in the distance. Mrs. Du, please sit down. Let me feel your pulse. Tang Zheng said. Mrs. Du turned around and said calmly, sorry to trouble you. Tang Zheng deeply looked at her, 2 fingers pressed down on her wrist. Her pulse was very strong, but Tang Zheng knew very little about the pulse, so he could not determine if there was a problem. So he urged his true qi, and a trace of true qi flowed from her wrist, along her meridians, into her body. Now Tang Zheng's control of genuine qi had reached the peak, so he didn't have to worry that the genuine qi would hurt the patient as before. Even the patient herself wouldn't notice anything strange with the trace of genuine qi. This was a big advantage of his increasingly excellent skills. Seeing him feel her pulse, Du Qifeng's heart was in his throat. He didn't know what the result would be. Chapter 1033. Tang Zheng let go of his hand, his eyebrows tightly knitted together. Mrs. Du looked at him with a bitter smile and said, young Master Tang, is there any cure for my illness? Tang Zheng stared at her and shook his head slightly. It's too early to say. He found that the vitality in her body was very weak, but he couldn't find the root of the illness. A touch of disappointment flashed in Du Qifeng's eyes. Young Master Tang, please go to rest first. We'll try again in the evening. They left the room. Tang Zheng and the King of Medicine went back to the room. The King of Medicine asked curiously, "Master, did you find anything?" Tang Zheng shook his head. The King of Medicine's face became strange. Even Tang Zheng didn't find anything. This illness was really strange. Night fell. They had dinner and waited for the moment when Mrs. Du had an attack. Tang Zheng sat opposite her and didn't miss any chance to observe. The moonlight shone on the bed and fell on Mrs. Du's body. Suddenly, a strange scene happened. A touch of darkness flashed in Mrs. Du's eyes. Her breath suddenly changed and became very cold and horrible. Her face was ferocious. "Well, her illness seems to have changed," the King of Medicine exclaimed. "Why do you say that? She used to tremble all over when she had an attack, as if she had epilepsy. But this time she seemed very calm. Except for the change in her complexion and breath, there were no other symptoms." The King of Medicine said, puzzled. Tang Zheng shook his head. "I'm afraid this is a sign that her illness is getting worse. Mrs. Du, let me feel your pulse again." Whoosh! Seeing Tang Zheng's hand reaching out, Mrs. Du suddenly stepped back and dodged. Her reaction was so fast that even Tang Zheng didn't expect it. It didn't match her weak appearance at all. Tang Zheng's eyes flashed with a bright light as he stared at her. Du Qifeng hurried to persuade her. "Mrs. Du, let young Master Tang feel your pulse and treat you." Bang! Once he finished his words, Du Qifeng was pushed away by Madame Du's palm. Du Qifeng's tall and sturdy body flew out like a piece of paper and heavily hit against the wall. "Madam, you—" Du Qifeng clutched his chest and gasped for breath, looking at his madam in disbelief. Madame Du's eyes flashed with a cold light as she coldly glanced at Du Qifeng. Then, she stared at Tang Zheng with an unkind expression. Her voice changed quite a bit as it became the voice of another woman. It was very sharp and gave people a feeling of fear. "Who are you?" Tang Zheng stared at her and asked. "Who are you? You don't have the right to ask for my name," Madame Du said arrogantly. Du Qifeng and the King of Medicine were dumbfounded when they heard the conversation between the two. It was as if they were two completely different people. "Madam, what's wrong with you?" Du Qifeng turned pale with fright. Ignoring the pain, he threw himself at Madame Du. Tang Zheng hurriedly stopped him and advised, "Mr. Du, calm down. Let me deal with her." The King of Medicine was dumbfounded and said resentfully, "Possessed. She really is possessed. It is her good fortune that I am possessing her body. What do you ignorant people know?" Madame Du was proud of herself, and her entire body was exuding evil energy. "Let me catch you first." Tang Zheng reached out his big hand and rushed to her. Madame Du flew back, tiptoed on the wall, flipped in the air, and threw herself at Tang Zheng. Bang, bang, bang. In a flash, the two exchanged several moves. However, Tang Zheng's fighting ability was much stronger. Madame Du had a strong momentum at first, but in the blink of an eye, she could only retreat. Bang! Tang Zheng put one hand on her shoulder and immediately restrained her. She tried to resist and screamed. Tang Zheng was unmoved. He activated his true qi and immediately sent it into her body. A cold and ruthless aura instantly came back from his true qi. His eyes lit up. He thought, "I finally found you." It turned out that there was a soul hidden in Madame Du's body. It was very hidden during the day, and even Tang Zheng couldn't find it. But at night, when the yin qi was strong, she would show up. Tang Zheng had seen Tian Chanzi do the possession and rebirth with his own eyes. However, he possessed a dead body, while this guy in front of him came for a living person. There is a world of difference between the two actions. This kind of forceful possession of another person's body was very bad. Tang Zheng couldn't do anything about it. Moreover, there were so few cultivators today. It was rare to find someone who had the ability to possess and rebirth. This was because, according to the Heaven Monk, one had to be above the nascent soul stage in order to be able to possess a body and be reborn. Furthermore, there were very few people above the nascent soul stage in this world. So who was this person? He had to find out. "Who are you? How dare you be so rude to me?" Madame Du screamed at the top of her voice. She stared at Tang Zheng angrily, as if she wanted to eat him alive. Tang Zheng wasn't afraid at all. He activated his genuine qi and immediately found the culprit in Madame Du's brain. This soul was hidden in the depth of her brain. It was a cloud of black gas. He could vaguely see a ferocious face hidden in the black gas. The ferocious face was opening its mouth and roaring. It seemed that it wanted to scare Tang Zheng away. "Who are you?" Tang Zheng asked. "You're not qualified to know my name." "Really? Then I'll destroy your soul." Tang Zheng used his genuine qi to stab the cloud of black gas like a sword. The other party immediately shrank back, but it didn't help. Her voice became more and more shrill, as if she was suffering endless pain. Seeing this scene, Du Qifeng's heart trembled. He wanted to persuade her, but was stopped by the king of medicine in time. "Director Du, if you want to save your wife, don't disturb my master." Du Qifeng was resentful. He was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan, spinning around in circles. I'll talk. Mrs. Du seemed to be unable to endure the torture and finally compromised. "I escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb." "Prehistoric heavenly tomb?" Tang Zheng was shocked. What does this have to do with the prehistoric heavenly tomb? After the restrictions of the prehistoric heavenly tomb were completely broken, many of the creatures or magic treasure that were imprisoned in the prehistoric heavenly tomb took the opportunity to leave that damned place and regain their freedom. What? Tang Zheng was shocked. He was actually one of the people who knew about this matter. Back then, in order to regain his freedom, the Hunter Transformation Star Lord had broken through the restrictions of the Buzhou Mountain, which was equivalent to breaking through all the restrictions of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. That was why the Thundercloud Beast was able to leave the prehistoric heavenly tomb as it pleased. However, the side effect was that without the restrictions, any living being could leave the prehistoric heavenly tomb. Back then, he, Tian Chanzi, and the others had personally seen tens of thousands of rays of light soaring into the sky. Tian Chanzi had once said that those rays of light were countless magic treasure S or En generals. In any case, they were living beings imprisoned in the prehistoric heavenly tomb. The people buried in the prehistoric heavenly tomb were all experts from the ancient era. Due to that restriction, the souls of these people did not enter the cycle of reincarnation, but were instead imprisoned in the prehistoric heavenly tomb. After tens of thousands of years, these souls interacted with the En Qi, and in the end, many of them became En generals. They lost their nature and became bloodthirsty people. Back then, Tang Zheng had met this kind of En general. Other than that, there were also magic treasurettes. The mountain-shattering meteor hammer that Sinosaurus had coincidentally obtained was one of them. It was just that Tang Zheng did not pay too much attention to this matter in the past, and had almost forgotten about it. This was because, other than Sinosaurus, there was no other similar news. Now it seemed that he was too optimistic. In fact, many changes had already happened, but they were hidden under a calm appearance, confusing his eyes. Now it seemed that the one attached to Mrs. Du's body was a En general. The other party called himself this seat, so it seemed that he had not completely lost his life. All of this was because of him. If he had not barged into the Buzhou Mountain, the Hunter Transformation Star Lord would not have broken through the restrictions and released so many living beings. Mrs. Du would naturally not have become like this. As a result, he was duty-bound. It seems like the situation with Mrs. Du and second brother is not an exception. I need to find other people in similar situations. Some people are in danger, and some people might have obtained some benefits and gone into hiding. If not for Du Qifeng finding him by chance, the Mrs. Du would definitely have been reborn and become a cultivator in hiding. Of course, there were also some people who would obtain some magic treasurettes. If they were able to survive, they would naturally become cultivators. Currently, they had not heard of this situation. It seemed that they were all very smart. Before they completely understood the current situation of the society, they did not dare to act rashly. Perhaps they had already made a move, but Tang Zheng had not discovered it yet. Maybe one of the people who usually brushed past him was a spy. When he thought of this, His heart felt as if it was pressed down by a 10,000-kilogram boulder, incomparably heavy. This was really looking for a needle in a haystack. There was no definite target at all. It was even more difficult than dealing with a High Lord. Seeing his expression become extremely ugly, Du Chifeng finally could not hold it in and asked anxiously, "Young Master Tang, how is the situation?" "Don't worry, I can cure her." Tang Zheng regained his senses and stared at Mrs. Du. "Since you came from the prehistoric heavenly tomb, then I will take you in and get rid of evil for the people." "How dare you?" Mrs. Du cried out sharply. "Umph. Not to mention that you are an insignificant in general. Even if you're a powerful character, I am not afraid in the slightest. You cannot threaten me in front of me," Tang Zheng said coldly. Just as he was about to cast a spell to destroy the other party's soul, he suddenly had a thought and changed his mind. "This matter started because of me. There are so many living beings. If I were to destroy their souls one by one, wouldn't that be a great sin? The Ksitigarbha Sutra emphasizes compassion, so I should also have a compassionate heart. Why don't I learn from Dizong of Goguryeo and convert them, which could be considered a merit?" Without a doubt, in order to suppress the Asura, he recited the Ksitigarbha Sutra every day. The effect on himself could not be underestimated, and his state of mind had undergone quite a bit of change. He had experienced too many massacres, and there was a lot of evil in his heart. After reciting the Ksitigarbha Sutra every day, the evil in his heart gradually decreased, and his state of mind became much calmer. Of course, this was an imperceptible change that even he himself did not notice. Mrs. Du seemed to be a little afraid, and understood that she was not his match. Seeing that he was about to make a move, she hurriedly begged for mercy. "Please let me go. I will never do this again." Chapter 1034. In the past, when Tang Zheng recited the Ksitigarbha Sutra, there was no strange phenomenon, nor would there be golden Sanskrit words flying out of his mouth. However, when Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva recited, there was this scene. But this time, something like this happened, which surprised him. He immediately understood that his recitation day after day finally worked. His understanding of the Ksitigarbha Sutra had reached a new level, so he could reach this level. The Ksitigarbha Sutra has such power. It's incredible. Dizong of Goguryeo is really a genius. Chi Yu's voice suddenly sounded above Tang Zheng's head. The inner demon's voice followed. The Ksitigarbha Sutra is specially used to deal with souls. Do you think we... Suddenly, he realized something and stopped talking. Chi Yu also seemed to think of something and stopped talking at the same time. Tang Zheng naturally heard the conversation between the two. His heart moved, and he hurriedly calmed down. He quietly felt this mysterious feeling. Seeing the Sanskrit words fly into Madame Du's body, she immediately calmed down. The madness in her eyes and the ruthlessness on her face gradually faded. The King of Medicine and Du Chifeng looked at this scene in horror. For them, this was the work of immortals. After listening to Tang Zheng's recitation, even they themselves became calm. Du Chifeng, who was originally anxious, also calmed down a lot. "What's going on?" Du Chifeng turned to the King of Medicine and asked. The King of Medicine shook his head. The golden Sanskrit flew straight into Mrs. Du's brain, covering the black gas like a golden coat. The ferocious face in the black gas was suddenly startled, and the grimacing look was gone. It became very peaceful. Tang Zheng was delighted. The Ksitigarbha Sutra was really extraordinary. It could purify the ghosts in the 9 serenities hell. The in general soul could also be purified. It was more useful than other magic. It was the only magic to deal with them. A golden light shone on Mrs. Du's forehead. Then, the golden light gradually left her forehead and flew out. Mrs. Du felt weak all over and fell on the bed. They could vaguely see a mass of black gas within the golden light. The three of them stared at it without blinking. They saw the golden light flash and shrink rapidly. Finally, it turned into a fingernail-sized golden bead and fell to the ground. Tang Zheng hurriedly caught it and looked at it. This golden bead was very round. The outer layer was gold, and the inner layer was black. "What is this?" Tang Zheng was shocked and did not understand the situation. Du Qifeng ran to the bedside to check on his wife. The king of medicine hurried over and asked, "Master, what is this?" Tang Zheng pondered for a while and said, "Madam, Du had a strand of soul in her body. I converted her, and then she became like this. As for what this is, I don't know." "Oh, what does this do?" "I don't know for the time being." Put away first. Tang Zheng said that he could only ask the Dizong of Goguryeo for advice when he met him in the future. "Madam, you are awake. That's great." Du Qifeng hugged his wife and was overjoyed. He cheered like a naughty child. "Master, is Madam Du well?" The king of medicine asked curiously. Tang Zheng nodded. "She is not sick. It is because Yin's spirit entered her body. If it is delayed for a while, there will be no way to save her." The Yin general did not really succeed in the possession, but if she was given a few more days, it would be hard to say. "Young Master Tang, thank you so much. Du Qifeng, will never forget your great kindness. If you have any orders, I will do it." Du Qifeng said solemnly. Tang Zheng shook his head. He had not saved Madame Du to ask for repayment. Moreover, this matter was caused by him. Of course, he did not point it out. He just said lightly, "Madame Du's soul is hurt. She needs to rest and calm her soul so that she can recover as soon as possible. King of Medicine, just prescribe some recovery medicine for her." "Yes, master. I will write the prescription now." The King of Medicine wrote the prescription quickly and handed it to Du Qifeng. Du Qifeng kept nodding to express his gratitude. "Mr. Du, we will not disturb you. We will go back to our room first." "Okay, please go ahead. I'm sorry for neglecting you." Du Qifeng was immersed in strong joy. He held his wife's hand and was reluctant to let go. "Master, I have something to report to you." They left, and the King of Medicine said. Tang Zheng nodded and signaled the King of Medicine to go to his room. After they sat down, the King of Medicine said with emotion, "This is really an eye-opener. Master's method is like the magic. I am far behind you. I don't know when I can have this kind of supernatural power." Tang Zheng thought that since he called him master, he could not say nothing. He asked, "King of Medicine, do you want to learn the art of cultivation?" The Medicine King was stunned. He never thought that happiness would fall from the sky so quickly. After a while, he regained his senses and hurriedly nodded. "Yes, this way I can have Master's celestial methods?" "Yes. In fact, this is not a magic power. As long as you practice hard, you will reach this level sooner or later." "Master, don't worry. I will practice hard. When I was learning medicine, I was not very talented. But in the end, I stood out because of my persistence and persistence. Although I am old, this state of mind has never changed." The King of Medicine said solemnly. Tang Zheng nodded his head in gratification. "But what you are learning is the art of healing the world. The only thing I have right now is the God-killing scroll. Its killing intent is too heavy, and the wondrous intent technique was created specifically for women. So, wait a few days, and I will teach you a suitable cultivation technique. There are many cultivation methods in the Langya Pavilion." He could only go there to find them. The King of Medicine quickly waved his hand and said, "Master, don't worry. I am not a young boy. I am not that impatient. Actually, I am here to report the results of my recent research." "Oh, there are results?" "Of course, through the research of the life-continuing pill and other pill recipes, our pharmaceutical factory has developed a new medicine. This new medicine can slow down a person's aging and prolong a person's life. Moreover, it can prevent many serious diseases." The Medicine King excitedly said. To any medical practitioner, developing such a powerful new medicine was undoubtedly a great merit. In the past, the King of Medicine did not dare to imagine that a medicine could have such a powerful effect. But after seeing the life-continuing pill, he found that everything was possible. Miracles really did exist. Tang Zheng did not think that the King of Medicine was exaggerating. He said encouragingly, "The world will remember your kindness." The King of Medicine rubbed his hands and said somewhat embarrassedly, "This is all thanks to Master. If not for the life-continuing pill and other prescriptions, I would not have been able to develop this medicine." Don't be modest. This is all the result of your hard work. Now that the medicine has been sent to the relevant departments for testing, the results of our clinical trials are very good. After taking our medicine, every patient's condition has been improved and controlled. This new medicine will change the structure of the medicine market. It will really become a miracle medicine. The king of medicine said excitedly, I will leave this matter to you. This is a good thing that will benefit the people. You must do it well and not make any mistakes. Master, rest assured, this old life of mine will fight to the death with this matter. It will definitely benefit more people. The king of medicine patted his chest and said in high spirits, the final price of the medicine should not be too high. Do not be like the other black-hearted manufacturers. Tang Zheng warned. The king of medicine looked at Tang Zheng with sincere admiration and said, Master is merciful. The people will remember your kindness. The king of medicine reported some key points in the research and development and then returned to his room. Tang Zheng was not sleepy. Instead, he remembered the conversation between Qi Yu and the inner demons. He said with a smile that was not a smile, Hey, the two of you, stop pretending to be mute. We haven't finished what we were talking about. Let's continue. What did we say? We didn't say anything. Qi Yu flatly denied. The inner demons also hurriedly echoed. Yes, we didn't say anything. You must be hallucinating. Tang Zheng said jokingly, Oh, this is so rare. You guys are finally on the same page. Qi Yu and the inner demons were a little resentful, but they maintained a tacit understanding. Tang Zheng was not so easily fooled. He said bluntly, If it weren't for your reminder, I would have almost forgotten. In the end, the two of you are also souls. The Ksitigarbha Sutra is a spell that specializes in dealing with souls. Naturally, it will be effective on the two of you. How is that possible? How can we be the same as ordinary souls? The two of them hurriedly denied. Don't let your imagination run wild. It's better to cultivate properly. This is the right path. That's right. The danger you are facing now is even greater. Not only is there the Azure Dragon Palace, there are also the things that escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb. These are the most important things. Tang Zheng remained unmoved. I will take care of all of these things one by one, but the two of you have always been living in my body. This is not a solution. I don't want to bury a time bomb in my body. Oh, what are you doing? The two of them were shocked. In the past, they thought that they were strong enough that even Tang Zheng was not strong enough, so they did not have to worry too much about his methods. Now, it seemed that ever since he cultivated the Ksitigarbha Sutra, this situation had been quietly changing. It was just that they had never realized it before. This time, they had coincidentally realized this point and understood how terrible the situation they were facing was. They had become fish on the chopping block. They were filled with regret as they had really touched a sore spot. Why did they have to be so talkative? If not for them reminding him, Tang Zheng probably would not have thought of this point. Now that he had lifted a rock and smashed his own foot, what should he do? The two of them were at their wits' end. Tang Zheng laughed coldly. Now that I no longer need to be threatened by you, I believe that you can also become like that golden pearl. Don't you think so? No, please don't do this. The two of them anxiously shouted. They were truly panicking. Chapter 10:35. After hearing Tang Zheng's words, Qi Yu realized that a great disaster was about to befall them. He panicked and said, Tang Zheng, don't treat us like this. We are of great use to you. Great use? I don't see it. On the contrary, we are a great potential threat. Tang Zheng did not think so. We really are of great use. Didn't you want to find a suitable cultivation method for the king of medicine? I have it. Qi Yu said impatiently. Tang Zheng was interested and asked, What cultivation method? Can you promise not to use the Ksitigarbha Sutra against us? Qi Yu asked nervously. Tang Zheng laughed. Ha! Do you think there's still room for negotiation? The inner demons hurriedly urged. Qi Yu, this is a matter of life and death. What are you waiting for? I know what you're talking about. Hurry up and tell this young man about Shenongjing. Shenongjing? Tang Zheng asked curiously. Qi Yu sighed and said helplessly, Yes, Jing. This is a scripture written by Nong in ancient times. Nong is the ancestor of the apricot woods. Jing entered the Tao through medicine. It is a supreme cultivation method. It is just right for the king of medicine. Tang Zheng was overjoyed. It seemed that he did not need to go to the Langya Pavilion to search. Hurry up and tell me. All right. Just as Qi Yu's voice fell, a ray of light flashed through Tang Zheng's mind, and then a ray of green light slowly unfolded, turning into an ancient book that he roughly browsed through. After reading it once, not only did it talk about cultivation methods, but it also recorded medical skills to treat illnesses and save people, especially the introduction of medicinal herbs. It was refreshing. There were many things that he had never heard of before. Nong tasted hundreds of herbs and cured countless people. Just now, he wrote this Nong Jing. It is the most precious treasure of the apricot woods. Of course, this is a healing spell. There are very few offensive spells, Qi Yu explained. Tang Zheng realized that he had overlooked a problem. The king of medicine was a warrior, so he couldn't practice magic. That's not a big deal, the inner demons quickly said, as if they didn't want Qi Yu to take all the credit. Oh, is there any solution? Why don't we just cripple his martial arts and make him start learning magic from scratch? That's one way. However, most people wouldn't be willing to throw away everything they've learned and start from scratch after cultivating for most of their lives, Tang Zheng said worriedly. If you gain something, you lose something. Besides, Nong Jing was made just for him. It is many times better than his half-baked martial arts. If he doesn't know how to calculate this, then he is a complete idiot. The inner demons said. Tang Zheng thought for a while and agreed with the inner demons. However, this kind of situation did not apply to everyone. This was because it was not so easy for ordinary people to find a cultivation technique that was so suitable for them. Tang Zheng, don't you think the two of us are very useful? In the future, you will encounter more problems and more difficulties. We can still give you advice, which is definitely more useful than making us disappear. Qi said with a bashful face. Tang Zheng frowned. He was not someone who was so easily fooled. These two fellows were indeed a treasure trove, but they were also very dangerous. He would not let them go just because of a set of Nong Jing. So he said, "You want to bribe me with a set of Nong Jing? You're underestimating me too much." "Oh, what are you doing? Are you going to stubbornly deal with us? What do you think?" "No way." The inner demons hurriedly stopped him. "Young man, didn't you want to deal with those things that escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb? We can help you." "Yes, we can help you. This is a huge project. You can't do it alone. We can lend you a hand." Qi Yu hurriedly chimed in, as if he was grasping at a life-saving straw. Tang Zheng's head moved. This was a good idea. In fact, ever since he found out that the Ksitigarbha Sutra could balance Qi Yu and the heart demon, he was not so worried about these two people. Because with the Ksitigarbha Sutra, they would not be able to make any big waves, and they were a huge treasure trove. He could get many useful things from them. Hastily making them disappear from this world would not do him much good. However, in order to make them obediently submit, he had to scare them as much as possible. As expected, not only did they blow up Nong Jing this time, they even had a way to find the things that escaped. This was something worth celebrating. "Tell me in detail," Tang Zheng said with a cold face. "Yes." The inner demons smiled bitterly. He had been wise for his entire life, and no one could kill him. He never thought that he would be controlled by a young man in the end. Those things that escaped are divided into two types. Some of them are soul generals, and some of them are magic treasures. These magic treasures are of different levels, and our focus should be on the soul generals because they have their own consciousness and are more dangerous than magic treasures. Hearing the inner demons' analysis, Tang Zheng secretly nodded his head, thinking that it made sense, but he still retorted, "But we can't give up on the magic treasure. After all, OL2 encountered the mountain-shattering meteor hammer and almost lost his life." "All right, we'll do our best." The inner demons was helpless. These things actually have a strong prehistoric aura. As long as we grasp this clue, it will be very easy to find them. Prehistoric aura? Tang Zheng frowned. Yes, it is extremely difficult for others to discover this aura, but Chi Yu and I can discover it. The inner demons vowed. Tell me what kind of aura it is. I'll find it myself. No, only we can discover this kind of aura. Although your cultivation isn't bad, you can't discover it, because we are people from the ancient era. That's why we have this kind of ability. The inner demons argued. Right. Chiyu hurriedly agreed. We have been in the prehistoric heavenly tomb for tens of thousands of years, and have long known about this kind of aura. No one else has this kind of ability. Really? Tang Zheng half believed and half doubted. Chi Yu and the inner demons said at the same time. On this matter, the two of them maintained a high degree of consistency. Tang Zheng did not probe any further, but he guessed that it was most likely false, because Chi Yu and the inner demons were afraid that if they told Tang Zheng the specific method, he would destroy the bridge after crossing the river and deal with them. Since they had this kind of worry, Tang Zheng did not point it out and treated it as giving them a reassuring pill. All right, I won't pursue the matter further, but you must tell me where this kind of prehistoric aura is. Tang Zheng said sternly. Yes, we can tell you right now that there is a prehistoric aura in the capital. Beijing. Tang Zheng was shocked. His face darkened and asked sternly, "Why didn't you tell me before?" This. The two of them stammered. We didn't think of this before and ignored it. We only thought of this after seeing Mrs. Du's situation. Really? Tang Zheng absolutely did not believe that the two of them must have other ideas in mind. Yes, definitely. The two of them hurriedly promised. Tang Zheng smiled and did not pursue the matter further. Then we will set off for the capital tomorrow, and we must find the prehistoric aura that you mentioned. No problem. The next day, Tang Zheng first went to check on Mrs. Du and made sure that there was nothing serious. Tang Zheng and Mrs. Du were very grateful to him and said a lot of good words. Then, Tang Zheng and the King of Medicine found a secluded place. The King of Medicine was confused and did not know why his master had gathered so many people. King of Medicine, I have found the suitable magic for you to practice. The moment he opened his mouth, the Medicine King was shocked. He was overjoyed and moved to tears of gratitude. Many thanks to Master. I will never forget this kindness. Tang Zheng waved his hand and said, This magic method is called Shinong Jing. It is what? Shinong Jing. Before he finished, the King of Medicine had already screamed in shock. Yes, what's wrong? Tang Zheng looked at him in confusion, as if his reaction was a bit too big. Master! The King of Medicine was so excited that his lips trembled. He patted his chest and suppressed the stormy waves in his heart, and said, Master, is it really Shinong Jing? Of course. Do you think I would lie to you? No, I definitely didn't mean that. It's just that rumor has it that Shinong Jing has disappeared for tens of thousands of years, and there are only a few words about it in some medical books. Many people think that it is a legend, made up, and not believe it all. The King of Medicine explained. Tang Zheng was suddenly enlightened. No wonder he was so agitated, and lightly said, This is just some people's shallow view. The Shinong scripture is real. The King of Medicine nodded continuously. His old face was flushed with excitement, and even his wrinkles seemed to have smoothed out a lot. In the blink of an eye, he seemed to have become 10 years younger. Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily. Is it necessary to be so excited? Of course. The King of Medicine nodded seriously. Master, you don't know the name of Shinong Jing in the apricot forest. Legend has it that it was written by Shinong, and it is the origin of medicine. Many of the methods of curing diseases and saving people recorded in it are called magic, and it is extremely mysterious. If Shinong Jing really does see the light of day again, it will definitely benefit millions of people in the world. The King of Medicine talked endlessly, his eyes shining. Tang Zheng nodded secretly and gradually understood why he was so excited. The status of Shinong Jing was really too high, and if it were anyone in the apricot forest, they would probably have the same reaction as him. In that case, you should carry Shinong Jing forward, help the world by practicing medicine, and save more people. Tang Zheng urged. The King of Medicine nodded heavily and said meticulously, Master, Don't worry, I will live up to your expectations, and I will not let Shinnong and Shinnong Jing down. Don't be so serious. It's just that Shinnong Jing is not only a medical book, but also a set of cultivation methods. You are a warrior, and you can only practice Shinnong Jing if you destroy all your kung fu. Are you willing? Tang Zheng asked. Yes, of course, I am willing, 1,000, 10,000 times willing. The king of medicine nodded eagerly. Young man, you see, we were right. He will definitely be willing. The inner demons came out to take credit. Tang Zheng ignored them and continued to say to the king of medicine, Then let's start now. I will destroy your kung fu, and it may be a little painful. You have to bear with it. Chapter 10:36. There were many ways to destroy a person's kung fu. First of all, one could directly shatter a person's dantian. From then on, it would be difficult for the dantian to gather and produce internal strength. Similarly, such a dantian could no longer produce genuine qi, so the person would really be destroyed. In addition, one could also do it like when Tang Zheng participated in the kung fu competition. He was plotted against and took a strong poison like the spirit refining pill. This would not only destroy a person's kung fu, but also destroy a person's body and meridians. This method was not advisable. Finally, there was another way, which was to use a strong kung fu to dissolve the opponent's internal strength. This could only be done if there was a great disparity between the two people's kung fu. This method would not hurt the meridians and body and was the most gentle. Tang Zheng naturally chose this method. His kung fu was much stronger than the king of medicine, so of course he could do this. However, the process of dissolving internal strength would inevitably be accompanied by pain. I'm starting, Tang Zheng shouted in a deep voice and activated his genuine qi. The medicine king's body suddenly stiffened as he furrowed his brows. This was because he felt a powerful energy rush into his meridians. At that moment, a bone-piercing pain appeared spontaneously. Ah! He subconsciously groaned in pain, but quickly gritted his teeth to hold it back. Tang Zheng's mind was not distracted as he quickly cut the Gordian knot. True qi rampaged through his meridians, but did not injure his meridians as he tried to use the fastest speed to cripple his martial arts. It had to be said that although the king of medicine was a master in the apricot forest and his medical skills were exquisite, his kung fu cultivation was indeed mediocre. Therefore, Tang Zheng's progress was very fast. His genuine qi swept through the king of medicine's meridians and dantian at lightning speed. In the end, the genuine qi defeated all the internal strength, and even the internal strength in the dantian disappeared completely. If it was an ordinary case of dissolving one's kung fu, this would be the end, but Tang Zheng was not satisfied with this. The king of medicine was old, so it would take twice the effort for half the result to cultivate. In order to make up for this defect, he decided to take this opportunity to personally cleanse his muscles and marrow and widen his meridians so that he could cultivate faster in the future. Suddenly, the king of medicine could not help but cry out. Beads of sweat the size of beans appeared on his forehead. This was the side effect of the forceful cleansing of muscles and marrow. King of medicine, hold it in. I'll help you with the bone marrow cleansing, Tang Zheng hurriedly urged. The king of medicine nodded and gritted his teeth. Master, I can hold on. Just let me go. Tang Zheng secretly praised him. The pain that the king of medicine had to endure was several times more intense than that of an ordinary person. If it wasn't for his great perseverance, it would be impossible for him to endure. But Tang Zheng believed that the king of medicine could do it. As expected, although the king of medicine was sweating profusely as if he had just been fished out of the water, he gritted his teeth and did not utter a single word. The meridians were widened little by little, and the impurities were gradually discharged from the body. The surface of the king of medicine's body was covered with a layer of black dirt, and the wrinkles on his face seemed to have smoothed out a lot. Tang Zheng said in his heart that he was finally going to succeed. He pointed at the center of the medicine king's eyebrows and said, "Focus your mind and calm down. I will pass on the Shinong scripture to you. You will follow the Shinong scripture's instructions to guide your qi and enter the refining qi stage. Yes, master. The king of medicine was in pain and happiness. Suddenly, he felt a light flash in his mind, and then there was an ancient book. He was shocked and immediately understood that this was the Shinong Jing. He was so happy that he almost cheered, but he immediately restrained his mind and followed the Shinong Jing's instructions. He began to cultivate little by little. A warm feeling immediately grew from his dantian, and then flowed along his meridians to his limbs and bones. True qi, is this the true qi? He was overjoyed, and his temples were throbbing. Tang Zheng also noticed the true qi in his body. Although this true qi was weak, it naturally repelled his true qi as if it wanted to drive out this invader. Tang Zheng's mouth curved into a smile, and he controlled the true qi to withdraw little by little from his meridians, and then he guarded him. The king of medicine was like a statue, motionless, and immersed in the mysterious realm of cultivation. From now on, he could be considered to have stepped into the threshold of cultivation and was able to glimpse the mystery of the great Tao. After a long time, the king of medicine finally opened his eyes, and his eyes were full of joy. He excitedly said, "Master, I've finally succeeded. I've become a cultivator. Thank you for the grace of rebirth." As he spoke, he was about to bow down to Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng hurriedly held him and said with a smile, "No need to be so polite. Since you call me master, this is what I should do. Master's great kindness, I'll never forget it. I taught you Shinong Jing so that you can better practice medicine and save people. I hope you won't forget your original intention and carry forward Shinong Jing so that my painstaking efforts will not be in vain." Tang Zheng sincerely said. Although there was a large age gap between the two, they didn't feel the slightest awkwardness towards these words. As the saying goes, the one who reaches the top first. Both of them tacitly agreed on this point. The king of medicine patted his chest, and like a hot-blooded youth, he passionately expressed his promise. Suddenly, he frowned and said, why is it so smelly? Haha, I'm washing your meridians and removing the impurities. This strange smell is the cause of the impurities being expelled from your body." The king of medicine suddenly understood and hurriedly went back to his room to take a bath. The two chatted for a while, and Tang Zheng clearly explained some things to pay attention to in cultivation, and then they parted ways. He went back to the capital, and the king of medicine went back to the pharmaceutical factory. He flew back to the capital on his sword, and as soon as he landed, he couldn't wait to ask, "Chiyu, inner demons, you said that there's a primordial aura in the capital. Where is it? Quickly take me there." The two immediately appeared and said, "Don't be noisy, let us feel it first. The smog in the capital is so bad that even the primordial aura is covered up by this smog and has become very weak. We have to find it slowly." Tang Zheng speechlessly rolled his eyes and looked up at the sky. The sky was gloomy, as if it was covered with a layer of gray cloth. Although the tree of life had been constantly improving the spiritual energy and air in this world, after all, it had only been a short time, and the air quality was really too poor, so the effect was not immediately visible. For the time being, Tang Zheng didn't have any way to deal with the smog that filled the sky, and could only pray that the tree of life's effect would appear as soon as possible. However, he had a new idea about his villa area. He couldn't care less about other people's territory. After all, he didn't have that much ability, but if his own area was filled with turbid air all day long, it would be too embarrassing. Therefore, he had to find a way to improve the air in his area and turn it into a paradise in the capital. Your idea is not bad, and it's not difficult to realize. A spirit gathering array can easily do it. Chiyu praised. Now, Chiyu and the inner demons took turns to praise him. They all wanted to make a good impression on him. Of course, don't you see who came up with this idea? Tang Zheng said proudly. Let's find the primordial aura first, then go back and set up a spirit gathering array. I got it. The inner demons suddenly shouted, I can feel the primordial aura. Inner demons, don't shout. You're not the only one who can feel it. I can feel it too. Chi snorted. Stop arguing, let's go. Following the inner demons and Chi directions, Tang Zheng walked through the streets and came to the entrance of a house. It's here. The primordial aura is coming from inside, the two said with certainty. Tang Zheng looked up. A familiar door and a familiar plaque came into view. Yi Mansion, why are we here? This was the Ye family's mansion in the capital. Tang Zheng used to be a frequent guest, but after Yi Tianlei and Yi Xuanji broke off, he never came here again. The Yi Mansion was still as tall as before, and the courtyard was deep. There was no difference compared to before, unlike the Song and Chu families that were completely ruined. When the guards at the door saw Tang Zheng, their expressions became strange. After all, who didn't know the former son-in-law of the Ye family? Seeing him standing at the door, they couldn't guess what he was thinking, so they didn't dare to act rashly. Are you sure it's here? Tang Zheng looked at the house with a strange expression and asked the two. Chi Yu and the inner demons seemed to have been greatly insulted and said sullenly, You can doubt other things, but how can you doubt our professionalism? The primordial aura is coming from inside. Tang Zheng nodded with a sullen face. Could it be that someone in the Ye family had been taken over? This was something new and unheard of. Then let's go in and take a look. Tang Zheng could even come and go freely in the inner palace. So how could he be blocked by these high walls? When he walked to the door, the guards quickly came up and stopped him with a complicated expression and nervously said, Young Master Tang, please stop. Tang Zheng didn't plan to make things difficult for them and calmly said, I won't make things difficult for you. Just open the door. The guards had a difficult expression and said, Young Master Tang, we have a duty. Forgive us for not being able to comply. Seeing Tang Zheng's expression suddenly change, as if he was about to flip out, a smart guard quickly said, Young Master Tang, please wait a moment. We will go and report. Tang Zheng hesitated. Since the primordial aura was in the Yi Mansion, it naturally couldn't escape, so he nodded his head. Not long after, the guards hurriedly ran back and respectfully bowed to Tang Zheng and said, Young Master Tang, please, the Patriarch is waiting for you in the main hall. Tang Zheng walked in with large strides and found that there wasn't much change in the Yi Mansion. He secretly asked the two guards about the primordial aura's whereabouts, and the two acted as guides, guiding him forward. AI, Young Master Tang, it's not that way, it's this way. Seeing Tang Zheng turn the corner, the guard were shocked and quickly shouted, The Patriarch is waiting in the main hall. It's this way. I'll go over here first. Tang Zheng didn't want to delay any longer, and with a leap, he turned into a blur and rushed towards the direction of the primordial aura. Ah, Young Master Tang, you can't. The guards turned pale with fright and screamed. Suddenly, a figure descended from the sky and blocked in front of Tang Zheng. Looking closely, it was actually Yi Xuanji, who looked a bit older than before, and his snow-white beard fluttered in the wind. Chapter 1037. Yi Xuanji's aura was incomparably sharp, even more so than before. Tang Zheng's eyes narrowed into two slits as he looked at him calmly. Tang Zheng, this is the Ye family. Not just anyone can barge in. Yi Xuanji said in an unfriendly tone. Tang Zheng was unmoved and said, Is that so? Could it be that there's some unspeakable secret? Yi Xuanji's temples throbbed as he asked, What do you mean by that? Tang Zheng also stared straight at Yi Xuanji, as if he wanted to find some clues from his reaction, but Yi Xuanji was after all an old fox, so how could he be seen through so easily? There were no flaws at all. Just now, the guard came to report that you're here. Since you're a guest, I naturally wouldn't neglect you. But if you're here to cause trouble, even though my Ye family is weak, we're not that easy to bully. Yi Xuanji said firmly. Tang Zheng turned around and asked Chi Yu and the inner demons if the great desolate aura was nearby. After getting an affirmative answer, Tang Zheng made up his mind. Even though it wasn't good to barge in, this matter was still very important and he couldn't be careless. Moreover, the Ye family was his opponent. If he was too polite, it would seem hypocritical. His eyes flashed as he walked straight towards the direction of the great desolate aura. 9 unspecified currency. Yi Xuanji slid and blocked his way. Their eyes met, and sparks were already flying. If that's the case, then I won't be polite. After Tang Zheng finished speaking, he pushed his palms towards Yi Xuanji's chest. Yi Xuanji roared and quickly blocked with his palms. Bang! For palms collided, and Yi Xuanji was pushed back a few steps. But Tang Zheng didn't move at all, as if he was Mount Tai. Yi Xuanji's expression changed as he exclaimed, "How did your cultivation become so high?" Even though he had expected Tang Zheng's cultivation to be unfathomable, he had never thought that his cultivation would be so high. It was not just a little bit higher than the last time they fought. Moreover, his intuition told him that Tang Zheng didn't use his full strength, otherwise he would have suffered even more. How did Tang Zheng do it? In just a few months' time? Could it be that cultivators are so much stronger than warriors? In the time it takes for a spark to fly off a piece of flint, many thoughts flashed through his mind, and his emotions fluctuated unsteadily. "You're not my match. You can't stop me," Tang Zheng said lightly. He has the right to say this, not because he's arrogant. He has expression as the Ye family. How can I watch you barge into the Ye family without doing anything? How can my Ye family stand in front of the world? How can I let the Ye family? How can I the Ye family? How can I watch you the Ye family? If you, how can I? My family is right. How can I right? How can I the can I? How can I? Whoosh. After he finished speaking, a sword flashed and a sword appeared in his hand. The cold sword flashed towards Tang Zheng's throat. Tang Zheng's eyes flashed coldly as he stared at the approaching sword and thought, "Why do I feel like I've seen this before?" Suddenly, his eyes lit up as he realized, wind-chasing sword art. No, this is definitely not the real wind-chasing sword art. It's a fake. His guess was not wrong. Ever since Yi Xuanji had seen Yi Dingdong's mysterious wind-chasing sword technique, he had been unable to get out of his mind. Later on, he went into seclusion for a long time and devoted himself to studying it. Finally, he created this wind-chasing sword technique, but compared to the real wind-chasing sword technique, it was worlds apart. Tang Zheng smirked and said, "Trying to imitate, but making a fool out of yourself. A fake like you dares to act arrogantly in front of me? I'll let you see what the real wind-chasing sword art is." Tang Zheng casually plucked a branch from the side. With a flick of his wrist, the leaves fell and turned into a bare branch. Yi Xuanji's face slightly changed, but his sword attack did not weaken. Instead, it became sharper and filled with killing intent. "To deal with you, this is enough," Tang Zheng calmly said. To Yi Xuanji, this was no different from a huge insult. His face turned green as he angrily said, "You're courting death." Whoosh! The long sword arrived in front of Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng lightly waved the branch and pointed it out. The strength and speed were just right. When it touched the long sword, the branch bent into a full moon shape but did not break. Instead, the long sword received a huge rebound force. Wong! The long sword violently trembled. Yi Xuanji could not control it, and his hand involuntarily loosened. The long sword flew out of his hand and fiercely pierced into the roof, leaving the sword hilt trembling incessantly. Looking at this scene, Yi Xuanji was stunned. He had lost completely. He thought that he had comprehended the essence of the wind-chasing sword art, but he did not expect that he could not even withstand one of Tang Zheng's moves. Just now, Tang Zheng's move was fast and accurate. It seemed to be light, but in reality, it had the power of 10,000 kilograms. It was the essence of the wind-chasing sword art. His face revealed an unprecedented look of despair. Tang Zheng did not continue to tangle with him, nor did he take advantage of the situation to attack him. After all, he was Yi Dingdong's grandfather and Yi Tianlei's father. If he really did something to him, then there would be a rift between him and Yi Tianlei's family. He turned into a gust of wind and swept past Yi Xuanji. This time, he was too late to block. Why did the primitive aura disappear? Suddenly, Qi Yu and the inner demons exclaimed. Tang Zheng was shocked. He had no choice but to stop and ask, "How did it disappear? Didn't you say it was very obvious?" "It was very obvious just now, but now it has disappeared." The two were helpless and also seemed to be very puzzled. Tang Zheng frowned and looked at the many rooms in front of him. The Ye family was a big house. It occupied a large area, and there were many rooms. Without a clear target, it was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Could it be that the person heard the fighting, so he noticed the situation and deliberately hid? The inner demons mumbled. Qi was surprised. He pondered for a while and analyzed logically. If that's the case, then this soul has probably succeeded in taking over the body. It might even have recovered a lot of its power. Moreover, it must have been a powerful master when it was alive, so it could hide the primitive aura. Hearing this, Tang Zheng was also shocked. If it had succeeded in taking over the body, then whose body did it take over in the Ye family? Didn't you say that you could easily detect the primitive aura? Why can the other party disappear under your nose now? Tang Zheng asked angrily. Qiyu hurriedly explained, "Tang Zheng, don't slander us. We are just a strand of soul, and our strength is greatly reduced. If we were to occupy a body, then no matter how well the other party hides, they will not be able to escape our fiery golden eyes." The inner demons also agreed. That makes sense. Why don't you find a body for us and let us be reborn? Then these are all small problems. We will solve them for you in minutes. Tang Zheng sneered mockingly. Your plan is too good. Do you think you can fool me like this? Stop dreaming. If I let you take over my body and be reborn, wouldn't I be digging my own grave? How can that be? We have been together for so long. We have feelings for each other. We're close friends. The inner demons and Qi retorted. Stop dreaming. Quickly find a way to find the other party. Tang Zheng urged. The two of them fell silent at the same time. After a while, they said faintly, I'm afraid there is no way. No way. Tang Zheng stared with his eyes wide open. You were so confident before. Now you are breaking the chain. We don't want to either. The two of them mumbled, feeling wronged. I don't care. Anyway, if there is no way, now that we are here, I will not give up halfway. Tang Zheng purposely forced the two of them. Let's capture Yi Xuanji and interrogate him. Maybe we will get something. The inner demons suggested. Tang Zheng sneered. What kind of rotten idea is that? Do you think Yi Xuanji is a coward? You think he will listen to you just by scaring him? Don't we still have the soul-searching method? Qi said. Tang Zheng's head moved, but he immediately rejected this method. Just like killing Yi Xuanji, this would also cause a rift between him and Yi Tianlei's family. This was a last resort. He would not do this unless he had no other choice. So. Suddenly, several figures flew over from a distance and surrounded Tang Zheng. They were Yi Xuanji, Yi Tianming, and Yi Ke. Tang Zheng, you are too arrogant. Do you really think that the Ye family is a place where you can come and go as you please? Yi Tianming roared. Yi Ke indignantly scolded. Don't think that you could be arrogant by relying on your own weight. You can ride on top of our Ye family's head. This time, if you don't give us an explanation, don't even think about leaving. Tang Zheng's eyes wandered over the three of them. His eyes were burning like a scanner, as if he wanted to see through the three of them. Then who would the Yin general choose to be his puppet? The strong. The other party will definitely choose the strong, so that he can exert his strength to a greater extent. Qi quickly said. Tang Zheng's head moved and asked, the strong people of the Ye family are in front of him. Do you think he will choose one of the three? This possibility is not ruled out. The inner demons agreed. Just now, I fought with Yi Xuanji, and at that time, the great desolate aura still existed. That is to say, Yi Xuanji can be excluded. Then, he can only choose between Yi Tianming and Yi Ke. Tang Zheng analyzed. His eyes swept back and forth between Yi Tianming and Yi Ke. Why are you looking at us like this? Yi Ke asked in a bad mood. Tang Zheng did not answer. Instead, he made a move. Yi Ke was still a few meters away. She saw Tang Zheng's big hand reach out and use the swallowing sky technique. A powerful suction force spread out from his palm. Yi Ke exclaimed and involuntarily flew towards Tang Zheng. Bang bang. His feet fiercely stomped on the ground, trying to stop his body. However, all this was in vain. He finally fell into Tang Zheng's palm. "Tang Zheng, what are you doing?" Yi Tianming roared. His son was captured. His mood could be imagined. With a roar, the long sword in his hand trembled. Swish, 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 the sword bloomed in the sky. The man and the sword came together and stabbed towards Tang Zheng's heart. Chapter 1038. The branch in Tang Zheng's hand had not been thrown away. He shook the branch and faced the two people. Since they wanted to fight, then he would accompany them to the end. It was a good opportunity to test the two people's cultivation. With two swishing sounds, the branch was like a sharp sword, pointing at the two people's vital points. Since he wanted to test whether it was true or false, he naturally would not be merciful. He had to force the two people into a desperate situation. The branch accurately pierced the two people's bodies. However, the two people did not fall, nor did blood burst out. The two people's faces showed a sinister and strange smile, which made people's hair stand on end. "What's going on?" Tang Zheng was shocked. He was very clear on the power of his attack. With the cultivation of these two people, it was impossible for them to block it, even if they were strong. It was impossible for them to do so. Could it be that these two people had already been taken over and reborn? Haha, Tang Zheng, your methods are useless. You should obediently accept your death. You have committed all kinds of crimes against our Ye family in the past. Today, you will pay for them all. Yika shouted ferociously. Tang Zheng frowned. Yika was very different from what he usually saw. There was always a strange feeling that he could not explain. He immediately looked at Yi Tianming. The smile on the other side's mouth seemed to be particularly strange. "Young man, don't you feel that something is wrong?" The inner demons suddenly asked. "What's wrong?" Tang Zheng was confused. Chi said, "You are really too stupid. You usually boast that you are smart. Why are you so stupid today? Can't you see such a simple flaw?" Tang Zheng was more confused. Where was the flaw? Why did he not see it after looking for a long time? What flaw? Yi Tianming is already dead. How did he appear here? Chiyu asked. The inner demons echoed. Yes, isn't this a flaw? A big flaw. Yi Tianming is dead? Tang Zheng's eyes widened. Why did he not remember this? Really? Are you suffering from amnesia? Chi said snappily. You're the one with amnesia. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes and retorted. That's weird. There must be a problem. It's just that we haven't figured it out yet. Could it be that Yi Tianming was the one who was possessed and reborn? The inner demons were amazed. If only it was that simple. I think things are even more complicated. Chiyu said disapprovingly. After listening to the conversation between the two, Tang Zheng felt like his brain was turning into mush. He was getting more and more confused. It was as if something was wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Before the three of them could come up with a solution, Yi Xuanji and the other two launched a fierce attack. In an instant, 3 swords were launched at the same time, attacking Tang Zheng together. Tang Zheng threw away the branch and changed to the War Soul sword. He quickly slashed his sword. The air shook and the sword light directly penetrated Yi Xuanji's body. Yi Xuanji was safe and sound. Instead, he revealed a proud smile. His long sword flew out of his hand and slashed at Tang Zheng. Clang! The War Soul sword forced the sword back. However, the long sword didn't fly away. Instead, it made a circle in the air and turned back. Imperial sword technique. Tang Zheng was too familiar with this scene and couldn't help but exclaim. Yi Xuanji was a martial artist. How could he know the Imperial sword technique? This didn't make sense at all. Whoosh! The long sword flew out again. This time, it was faster and more accurate. It was completely an attack of the wind-chasing sword technique. It wasn't the unorthodox attack that Yi Xuanji used before. Instead, it was the essence of the wind-chasing sword technique. With the combination of the Imperial sword technique, the power of this attack increased sharply. Even Tang Zheng felt a huge pressure. Tang Zheng quickly raised his sword to block. He felt as if he had suffered a heavy blow. His arm went numb, and the war soul sword almost flew out of his hand. No, no, the inner demons and Chiyu shouted at the same time. This isn't real. We finally know why the great desolate aura disappeared. It's because we've already fallen into a trap. Fallen into a trap? Tang Jing's expression was strange. He didn't know what to do. Yes, all of this is fake. There's no difference between a fake and a real one. It actually deceived all of our eyes. The inner demons let out a long sigh. I finally know who the great desolate aura is. Only he can do this and deceive all of us. Chiyu said indignantly. Hung, I also know who you're talking about. I didn't think that this person wouldn't stop even after he died. He came out to stir up trouble and even hit my head. Seeing the two speak with righteous indignation, Tang Jing quickly asked, Who are you talking about? Nightmare. Who is he? This person was one of the generals under the Yellow Emperor. Many of my 9 Li tribe's warriors died in his hands. Chiyu said hatefully, What kind of ability does he have to be so powerful? Nightmare's ability is something that no one else has. In this world, he is the only one who knows his magic. He also doesn't have a successor because his talent is too special. No one can stand shoulder to shoulder with him. He created a set of spells for himself, called Traceless Dream of Heart. What's so powerful about this magic? Chiyu gave a heavy snort, as if he didn't want to talk about it. The inner demons said, Do you usually dream? Of course I dream. Everyone dreams. The nightmare's power lies in its ability to create a dreamscape. Then, without leaving a trace, it can silently lure people into a dream. In a dreamscape, anything is possible. It's like a heavenly steed soaring across the sky. It doesn't stick to a certain pattern. Moreover, the person who enters the dreamscape won't know that they're dreaming because it's too real. The two of us are inside your body and haven't been attacked by the nightmare. That's why we can see through everything. When you dream, do you dream of someone who has already passed away? Then you don't think that they're dead, and you even talk to them like a normal person? The inner demons asked. Tang Jing nodded. This kind of situation was too common. Most people would have encountered it at least once. So, right now we're in a dreamscape created by the nightmare. That's why we're like this. The dead come back to life, the enemy becomes stronger. These kinds of things that surpass common sense can only happen in a dreamscape. But the nightmare's power lies in the fact that even though it's a dreamscape, once you're killed by the enemy, you'll really die in the dreamscape. Those who are lured into the dreamscape by the nightmare's traceless dream will be trapped in the dreamscape if they can't break out of the dreamscape. The nightmare will always think of ways, and even deliberately create nightmares to make people die in their dreams. These words enlightened Tang Jing. His heart was as clear as a mirror, and his eyes lit up. Everything in front of him seemed to distort. The air violently fluctuated, and the trees and houses around him became faintly discernible. The smiles of the 3 people in front of him became increasingly strange, causing his heart to feel cold. This is all fake. I'm dreaming. Tang Jing shouted himself hoarse. Boom! With a loud noise, the whole world seemed to collapse. The faces of the 3 people in front of him became blurred. He only heard a shrill cry. How did you see through it? The scene in front of him suddenly changed. The 3 people disappeared, and everything around him became clear again. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 sounds came from afar. In the blink of an eye, 2 people came in front of him. Looking closely, it was Yi Xuanji and Yi Ke. Tang Jing's pupils suddenly shrank. He said in his heart that this was not a dream. Of course it's not a dream. This is reality. Although the nightmare's spell is powerful, once it's a dreamscape, it can quietly withdraw. However, once trapped, it's really difficult to recognize that you're in a dreamscape, so you can't withdraw at all. Unless you have a really great magical ability, otherwise, in the face of the nightmare spell, you're really powerless. The nightmare once said that when he cultivates the heart's dream traceless spell to the extreme, even if it's a magnificent army, he can quietly lure them into a dream and eliminate them all in the dream. The inner demons introduced. Tang Jing's head moved and said, Then during the Battle of Zhuolu, did the nightmare also use the heart's dream traceless spell? Chiyu snorted coldly and said, "Of course, how could he give up on such a powerful spell? It's just that he thinks highly of himself. But in the end, he can't escape death. My people are not to be trifled with. Although they paid a huge price, they still killed this scourge. It's just that I didn't expect that after tens of thousands of years, Nightmare would appear again." Tang Zheng patted his forehead, feeling bitter in his heart. In the ancient times, the experts gathered together, and all kinds of spells blossomed, making it hard to imagine. With so many souls escaping from the prehistoric heavenly tomb, it would probably cause a lot of trouble. Since there's a first time, then I will be extremely careful. I will not fall into the Nightmare Demon's trap again. You all said that these souls would choose the strong. Then other than Yi Xuanji, there's only Yi Ke left in the Yi Mansion. Could it be that the Nightmare Demon chose him? Tang Zheng muttered to himself, staring at Yi Ke like a torch. The F family looked at Tang Zheng. Just now, they saw that Tang Zheng was as motionless as a statue from afar. The two of them were shocked, but they did not sit back and watch. Instead, they directly chose to charge over, preparing to give him a fatal blow. However, just as they rushed in front of him, they discovered that Tang Zheng had freed himself from the meditative state of the old monk. As a result, the two of them immediately stopped in their tracks and did not dare to act rashly. They looked at him suspiciously, not knowing what kind of medicine he was selling in his gourd. "Tang Zheng, do you really think that my Yef family has no one left? Today, even if I, Yi Xuanji, risk my life, I will not let you succeed," Yi Xuanji said while gnashing his teeth. Just now, he was completely shocked by Tang Zheng's strength. When Tang Zheng left, he was both scared and ashamed. He was the dignified patriarch of a generation. If he was scared like this, then he would not be able to show his face in the Yi clan in the future. He would be pointed at behind his back and scolded to death. As the head of the family, of course he could not ignore it. Therefore, even though he knew that he was no match for it, he still had to chase after it. Only this time, there was Yi Ke. Chapter 1039. Tang Zheng did not pay attention to Yi Xuanji's clamor. He just stared at Yi Ke intently, as if he wanted to see through her. Does he have a great aura? No. What about the great aura? It appeared again, in the small courtyard behind. Tang Zheng suddenly turned his head to look. Doesn't this mean that the Nightmare did not choose Yi Ke, but chose another person? He stared at the wall behind him, as if he wanted to let his eyes penetrate it to see who could get the favor of the Nightmare. "Tang Zheng, what are you looking around for?" Yi Xuanji scolded. Tang Zheng coldly snorted, his toes touched the ground, and he was about to fly into the small courtyard. "Stop for me!" Yi Xuanji roared, his heels slammed on the ground, and the ground immediately cracked. He was like a cannonball flying out. The sword in his hand shone brightly, and he and the sword seemed to be integrated into one. Seeing this scene, Tang Zheng understood that the other party was going all out and quickly raised the War Soul sword. The War Soul sword whistled, and one sword flew into the sky. Ding Dang shouted, and the two swords clashed. One sword and one person fell from the sky, drawing a bloody trace in the sky, and heavily fell to the ground, blood spurting out. At this moment, Yi Xuanji seemed to have aged more than 10 years. Originally, there were a few black hairs, but now all of them have turned white. This blow, Tang Zheng broke all of his defenses, even his mind, and the damage he suffered was immeasurable. Tang Zheng did not hide anything. It was the other party's repeated threats that made him really angry. Moreover, the Yef family actually had such a powerful existence as the Nightmare. Tang Zheng had to be careful. "Grandpa!" Yi Ke was originally preparing to attack Tang Zheng, but when she saw this scene, she subconsciously stopped and helped Yi Xuanji up. "Tang Zheng, I will fight with you." Yi Ke shouted. Her face was crazy. Yi Xuanji grabbed his sleeves tightly and shook his head. "Don't, you are not his match." Tang Zheng coldly looked at the two of them and said, "I originally didn't want to be your enemy, but since someone in your mansion has been possessed, I have no choice but to interfere. Moreover, This is for your own good because the people you are familiar with are already in danger. Possession? Yi Xuanji took a deep breath and suppressed the blood in his heart as he asked. That's right. An extremely powerful soul has attacked one of your people. If you don't treat him in time, he'll be in grave danger. Hey, nonsense. You want to use this reason to deceive us. Do you really think that we are 3-year-old children? Yika disapproved and sarcastically said. Tang Zheng ignored him and said, Yi Xuanji, it's up to you whether you believe me or not. I'm telling the truth. Yi Xuanji had a complicated expression on his face. After pondering for a while, he said, What evidence do you have? The evidence is at the back of the yard. We'll know once we go in and take a look. Tang Zheng pointed to the back. Behind this courtyard? Who are you trying to fool? No one lives in this courtyard for a long time. How can there be people? Hey, Tang Zheng, don't you know how to make up a better lie when you're lying? Yiku snorted. No one, how can it be? Tang Zheng didn't believe it. It was clear that the great desolate aura was coming from inside. His heart moved, and he asked, Could it be that an outsider broke in and deliberately hid inside? Ha! Ridiculous. Where do you think my Yef family is? What kind of cats and dogs can come and go as they please? Yika pointed at the mulberry tree and scolded the locust tree. Tang Zheng frowned. Yiku, keep your mouth clean, otherwise you will suffer. Yika still wanted to argue, but was stopped by Yi Xuanji. He looked deeply at the courtyard, not knowing what he was thinking. Bad. The great desolate aura is moving. The other party wants to escape. The inner demons suddenly shouted. Don't let him escape. Chiyu urged, quickly chase. Tang Zheng also ignored the Ye family, jumped, and rushed into the courtyard. Yi Ku shouted, stop, and tried to chase, but she was held back by Yi Xuanji. She could only watch as Tang Zheng disappeared in the courtyard. Grandpa, why are you pulling me? This is the Ye family. How can we let him do whatever he wants? Yika said indignantly. Yi Xuanji's face sank and said, Young people are full of vigor. What do you know? If you chase after him, what if something bad happens to you? What will happen to our Ye family? I can die, but you absolutely can't die. You are the hope of the Ye family. Do you understand? Yika lowered her head in shame and said, Grandpa, I know I was wrong. How much credibility do you think Tang Zheng's words have? Humph, he is completely lying. Yika's face was cold and said without thinking. Yi Xuanji was silent. Yika was shocked and asked, Grandpa, you don't really believe his nonsense, do you? Do you think it is necessary for him to talk nonsense to both of us? We can't threaten him at all. He is so active. What can he do? Or what benefits can he get? Yi Xuanji pointed out. Yika was speechless. Yi Xuanji patted Yika's shoulder and said earnestly, think more when you encounter things. I found that since the war, you have become more and more impatient. Although you have Tang Zheng, this mountain in front of you, but even in the face of the mountain, we have to have the spirit of a foolish old man moving the mountain. Conserve energy, accumulate strength little by little, and one day, we can dig up this mountain. Yika lowered her head and said, Yes, Grandpa, I understand. He turned his eyes and asked, Since you think that what Tang Zheng said is true, then what is the matter with the soul he said? Of course we have to figure it out. Let's go in. Yi Xuanji stood up with difficulty as the injury he received just now was not enough to take his life. The two hurriedly rushed into the courtyard, only to find that Tang Zheng's figure had jumped up from another wall and completely disappeared. He didn't find what he wanted? Yi Xuanji said, Let's catch up. However, the two chased for a while and completely couldn't see Tang Zheng's whereabouts. They could only look at the endless flow of traffic and sigh. Yika stomped her foot and said, Damn, I let him run away. Yi Xuanji shook his head slightly and said, About what Tang Zheng said later, you're not allowed to spread it, understand? Yes. Yika didn't know why, but she quickly responded. In addition, pay more attention to Tang Zheng's movements during this time. He is jumping too happily, and this has become the target of public criticism. We don't have to deal with him. Someone else will clean him up. We just need to watch the show and then save our strength. Yika nodded. The leader is determined to support our Ye family. If we are unable to support the leader will change his target in minutes, and our Ye family will completely lose the opportunity to rise. Therefore, during this time, you must be 120% alert. There must be no mistakes. Yi Xuanji sternly warned. Yi Ku understood the importance of the matter and nodded heavily. When Tang Zheng chased into the courtyard, the primitive aura had already escaped. He followed the aura and quickly chased out. As for the Ye family behind him, he didn't take them to heart because he could quickly get rid of them. Sure enough, he quickly got rid of the two people, but the speed of the primitive aura was so fast that it was jaw-dropping. Even he couldn't catch up. Tang Zheng, the nightmare, was a strong man who had reached the Deshang realm. Although it is only his soul, I am afraid that after the possession, his cultivation base is definitely not low. It is even possible that it is higher than yours, so you may not be able to catch up with him. The inner demons said worriedly. Chi Yu retorted, "We have to catch up. This is our last chance. Our perception range of the primitive aura is only 5 kilometers. Once it exceeds this range, we can't do anything. Since we have already alerted the enemy, if we let the other party escape, the other party will definitely hide completely, and it will be difficult to find them again. The perception range is only 5 kilometers. Then why didn't you say it before?" Tang Zheng was surprised. "This you didn't ask." Chi Yu and the inner demons said bitterly. Tang Zheng thought about it and immediately understood what the two were thinking. He asked, "You deliberately raised your value before, so you didn't say this, right?" In order to survive and prove their great value, the two of them naturally wouldn't reveal their shortcomings. As for the desolate aura in the Yi residence, they had long discovered it, which was why they were so confident. As for the other desolate auras, they couldn't sense them at all. They didn't even have the slightest clue. "I was actually tricked by the two of you." Tang Zheng's expression was unkind. "How do we trick you? We can really sense the primitive aura, but there's a distance limit." "Humph, deliberately exaggerating. Isn't that a trick?" "You're wrong. We didn't lie to you at all." The two hurriedly defended themselves. It had to be said that what the two said was not unreasonable. Tang Zheng didn't ask, and they didn't say in detail, so it wasn't a trick. It was Tang Zheng's fault for subconsciously making a mistake. "Wait until I catch this nightmare, then I'll deal with you guys." Tang Zheng was indignant and raised his speed to the limit. He madly ran all the way, circling through the streets of Beijing. After chasing for half a day, he still couldn't even see the shadow of the other party. Only the primitive aura was guiding him. This made Tang Zheng depressed and secretly competitive. "If I can't catch up, then I'll catch up. Let's see who can last longer." Ring, ring, ring. Suddenly, the phone in his pocket rang. At this critical moment, who was calling? "Young Master Tang, quickly come and save me." Ji Wuxiang's voice came from the phone, sounding very anxious. "What's the matter?" "Someone wants to kill me." "Who wants to kill you?" Beep, beep. The phone was cut off, and when he called back, he was told that the phone was turned off. "Don't worry about that, Ji Wuxiang. Catching the nightmare is the most important thing," Chi Yu urged. The inner demons hurriedly retorted. "Although the nightmare is important, Ji Wuxiang is also important. If his celestial chest falls into the hands of others, I'm afraid it will be very disadvantageous for you. Ji Wuxiang is a genius. Such a person cannot fall into the hands of others." Chapter 1040. What's so hard to choose? Stop hesitating and continue chasing the Nightmare Lord. Otherwise, it will be too late for regrets. Chi Yu kept urging. The inner demons retorted, "Chi Yu, don't be an alarmist. He has a grudge with you. That's why you want to kill him. The Nightmare Lord is indeed powerful, but to say that he's so powerful that it's against the heavens is definitely an exaggeration. Why would the Nightmare Lord run away and not face Tang Zheng head-on? Because he knows that Tang Zheng has a way to break his traceless dream spell. His most powerful spell would not work, so he would naturally run away. Is that so?" Tang Zheng's heart moved as he asked. "Of course it is so," the inner demons said as a matter of fact. Chi Yu did not refute, clearly agreeing with this point. "If I meet the Nightmare Lord again, Can I not be affected by his traceless dream spell? Tang Zheng asked curiously. The inner demons confidently said, Of course not for normal people, but you can rest assured that with us here, even if he can lure you into the dream realm, he won't be able to lure us. So, as long as the two of us are here, the Nightmare Lord's spell will not work. So that's how it is. Tang Zheng suddenly understood, immediately understanding the importance of the situation. Inner demons, if you don't speak, no one will think you're mute. Chi Yu said in a flustered and exasperated manner. The inner demons chuckled. Chi Yu, you're so flustered and exasperated because I'm right. What I said is the truth. As for how to choose, that's up to the young man. You don't really think that you can make the young man's decision, right? Don't be so arrogant. Arrogance makes people fall behind. Tang Zheng did not pay attention to the two of them arguing. In his heart, he gradually came up with a plan. Since he had chased the Nightmare Lord for so long and still could not catch him, that meant that the Nightmare Lord's methods were very good. Even if he continued to chase, he might not be able to catch him. However, if Ji Wuxiang fell into the enemy's hands, he would not be able to keep the chess piece and would be a huge threat to himself. I understand. In an instant, he made his decision. What are you going to do? I'll go save Ji Wuxiang first. Qi really wanted to look up at the sky and sigh. He hatefully said to the inner demons, it's you who ruined my plans. I'll remember you. Just you wait. The inner demons didn't care. Qi Yu, whether it was when you were alive or now, you can't do anything to me. So your threat is too weak to be effective. Inner demons, you really are my nemesis. Qi Yu shouted angrily. Tang Zheng changed direction and headed straight for the Shanqi Club. Although Ji Wuxiang did not say where he was, he had a feeling that Ji Wuxiang was most likely in the Go Club. When he arrived at the Go Club, the door was tightly shut. He immediately frowned. He had guessed correctly. As for what had happened in the Go Club, no one knew. Even the passers-by at the door did not notice anything strange. However, Tang Zheng sensed it. He quickly went to the corner and, while no one was paying attention, lightly tiptoed into the Go Club. Separated by a wall, the outside was noisy, but the inside was silent. Not even the chirping of insects or birds could be heard. It was terrifyingly silent. As far as the eye could see, he understood what was going on, because everything in front of him was completely different from before. It was a mess. The pavilions had collapsed and turned into ruins. The mood of the small bridge and flowing water was completely destroyed. Tang Zheng's pupils constricted as he hurriedly rushed out. After a few steps, he saw the only place that was completely undamaged, the hall, which was also the place where many chess players used to play. The Go boards were still standing. The Go players sat in front of the boards, holding the pieces in their hands. Their faces were cold and hard like rocks in the cold wind. Their hands were frozen in midair and did not fall for a long time. There were two people standing in the hall. One of them was Ji Wuxiang, and the other was wearing a mask. Tang Zheng recognized him at a glance. He exclaimed, "My lord!" The masked man was the Great Lord. Tang Zheng had fought him several times, so he was very familiar with the mask. Hearing the voice, the Great Lord and Ji Wuxiang turned their heads at the same time. When they saw Tang Zheng, the Great Lord exclaimed, "Tang Zheng, it's you again. Why are you everywhere?" His voice was filled with endless anger. When Ji Wuxiang saw Tang Zheng, his expression relaxed. His tense expression also relaxed a little. "My lord, I've been looking for you for a long time. You're finally willing to show yourself," Tang Zheng said without backing down. I was looking for you. What did you do to my Azure Dragon Hall's consecrated Xianin?" The Great Lord asked coldly. Tang Zheng smiled faintly. "Do you want to see her? I can help you and let you meet." "Could it be that you killed her?" "That's impossible. How could you kill her?" "You imprisoned her, didn't you?" Tang Zheng's head moved. The Great Lord seemed to have known that Xian Yin could seal herself to protect her life. That's why he ran away so unscrupulously. "If you don't answer, I'll take it as a yes. Today you don't have any other helpers. You're not my opponent. I'll take care of you once and for all," the Great Lord said murderously. Ji Wuxiang shouted, "Who said that young Master Tang doesn't have any helpers?" Although I, Ji Wuxiang, am not that talented. I can still help young Master Tang. Ji Wuxiang, even now, you're still stubborn. Do you really think I won't kill you? The great lord scolded. In order to get the heavenly chess, are you willing to kill me? Ji Wuxiang asked jokingly. He clearly knew what his biggest reliance was. The heavenly chess was his own creation. If others wanted to get the heavenly chess, they would have to dig it out bit by bit from his head. They wouldn't kill him immediately. Your heavenly chess is only SOSO. It can't even trap me, let alone deal with others. I think it's better not to use it. The great lord said disdainfully. Ji Wuxiang was unmoved. Although the great lord was belittling the heavenly chess, he wasn't prepared to refute. On the other hand, when Tang Zheng heard this, his heart skipped a beat, and he immediately understood what was going on. Ji Wuxiang and the others were able to hold on until now, because they had set up the heavenly chess to resist the great lord. However, according to what Ji Wuxiang said, wasn't the heavenly chess very powerful? Why couldn't it trap the great lord? Instead, they were forced to retreat again and again. The great lord stared at Tang Zheng with burning eyes, saying, Tang Zheng, if you hand over consecrated Xianin, then I can let you die a quick death. Tang Zheng snorted and lightly spat out 2 words, dream on, then I'll let you know the taste of death. The great lord stretched out his hand and rushed towards Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng hurriedly stabbed out with his sword. In an instant, the aura of heaven and earth changed greatly. No matter how the sword chi danced, countless sword marks appeared on the ground. As for Ji Wuxiang and the other Go players, they were like small boats in a storm, bobbing up and down with the waves. It was very dangerous. Suddenly, Ji Wuxiang shouted, Fecta! At the same time, the Go players began to move. The Go pieces in their hands landed heavily. Bang! The sound of the Go pieces making contact with the chessboard was exceptionally crisp. Before the sound had faded away, a mysterious energy surged out from the chessboard, spreading throughout the entire Go club. The aura of this small world had undergone a tremendous change. If one looked from the outside, they would see that the Go club hadn't changed at all. There wasn't even the slightest change. However, the inside of the Go club had undergone a myriad of changes. Tang Zheng's senses were very sharp. He immediately noticed this. After fending off the great lord with his sword, he couldn't help but look at Ji Wuxiang and the other Go players. He saw that Ji Wuxiang's expression was solemn and even had a murderous aura. He was like a general in ancient times who commanded thousands of troops and horses. The Go players were like his subordinates. The Go players also changed. Although they were still as solemn as statues, their expressions were obviously more relaxed. It was obvious that they had been under a lot of pressure at the beginning. They held the Go pieces in their hands and were floating in the air. It seemed like they would place their Go pieces at any time. Tang Zheng's head moved. He gradually understood. Ji Wuxiang's fecta earlier was probably the order to place the Go pieces or even the position of the Go pieces. However, he didn't know what it meant exactly. After the Go pieces were placed, the aura of heaven and earth changed. This was enough to show how extraordinary celestial chess was. It could actually cause the aura of heaven and earth to change. It was truly extraordinary for a Go game to have such power. Tang Zheng didn't underestimate celestial chess like the Great Lord. Instead, because of this change, he treated celestial chess differently and had a higher opinion of it. The Great Lord had seen this change in the previous battle, so he was already used to it. The aura of heaven and earth changed more and more violently. Suddenly, Tang Zheng felt a chill. He felt something and looked at the Great Lord. The Great Lord's expression changed. He shouted, "You're doing it again." Bam! With a muffled sound. It was as if a tyrannical force had struck the High Lord's body. He quickly retreated, leaving a long mark on the ground. The floor was like the earth that had been plowed, turning up one after another. What a tyrannical force. I can't guard against it. Tang Zheng turned pale with fright. This change was beyond his expectations. He asked himself honestly, if he was in the Great Lord's position, he definitely wouldn't be able to block this attack. Most importantly, this attack was invisible. There was no trace of it at all. By the time he noticed it, it was already too late to guard against it. Is this the power of celestial chess? Tang Zheng muttered to himself. Celestial chess's attack was invisible, but its power was so great. It was indeed too terrifying. It made one's hair stand on end. The great lord wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His eyes shone with a terrifying light from behind the mask. He shouted himself hoarse. I'm going to break your celestial chess today. As soon as he finished speaking, he rushed out. This time, he wasn't targeting Tang Zheng. Instead, he directly attacked Ji Wuxiang. Obviously, in his heart, celestial chess was a bigger threat than Tang Zheng. Celestial Jade. Ji Wuxiang opened his mouth again. This time, he didn't seem to be as relaxed as before. These two words burst out from his throat with great difficulty. Those chess players moved again. This time, their movements were very slow. It was as if they were resisting an invisible force. Tang Zheng saw everything clearly. He couldn't help but be amazed. This was a huge difference from before. As an outsider, he didn't know the reason behind it. Bam! Chapter 1041. The chess piece landed, and a sudden change occurred. A tyrannical force once again struck the High Lord's body, and blood seeped out from under his clothes, forming a dark red patch. You? The High Lord gasped for breath. His breathing became extremely hurried and chaotic, and he was actually unable to say a complete sentence. He propped himself up with his palm on the ground, turned into a ray of light, and fiercely rushed towards Ji Wuxiang. Stop! Tang Zheng shouted loudly, the sun-shooting arrow and heaven-shocking bow in his hands. The bowstring trembled, and the sun-shooting arrow flew out like a meteor, arriving in front of Ji Wuxiang in the blink of an eye. Ji Wuxiang's face changed. How did your sun-shooting arrow become so powerful? Tang Zheng sneered with a thought. The speed of the sun-shooting arrow increased. The High Lord flipped in the air, the sun-shooting arrow brushing past his scalp. However, before he could rejoice, he saw the sun-shooting arrow turn back in midair. His expression changed greatly as he looked at the sun-shooting arrow and Tang Zheng in disbelief. This was even more powerful than he had expected. Seeing the sun-shooting arrow flying over again, and Ji Wuxiang opening his mouth, as if he was about to speak again, his expression turned cold. He looked at Tang Zheng hatefully, then looked at Ji Wuxiang unwillingly, turned around and left. Like a whirlwind, he soared into the sky and flew over the courtyard wall. Delta boom! The sun-shooting arrow missed and shot into the corner of the wall. After a loud sound, a huge hole appeared at the foot of the wall, and gravel flew everywhere. Tang Zheng stomped his foot in hatred and said indignantly, "The High Lord is too shameless." Once he noticed that something was wrong, he actually ran away. Is he addicted to being a deserter? Last time he ran away. This time he ran away again. Tang Zheng was very clear that the High Lord was not completely afraid of the power of the sun-shooting arrow. Although the sun-shooting arrow was a sacred weapon, with Tang Zheng's strength, it was not enough to truly threaten the High Lord. What he was afraid of was clearly Ji Wuxiang and Tang Zheng working together. With the sky chess and Tang Zheng attacking together, the power would naturally increase greatly, and even the High Lord would not dare to underestimate them. The other chess players were drenched in sweat, as if they had just been fished out of the water. Their stiff faces finally revealed a trace of relaxation. It was obvious that the battle just now was a huge test for them. Young Master Tang, thank you for your timely arrival. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to see tomorrow's sunrise. Ji Wuxiang heaved a long sigh and expressed his gratitude. Tang Zheng shook his head slightly. President Ji is too serious. Your sky chess is very powerful. Even if I did not come, it might not have been defeated. Ji Wuxiang smiled bitterly. Young Master Tang, you only saw the surface, but not the inside. Although it looked like we could still hold on, without your help, we definitely would not have been able to hold on for long. Tang Zheng frowned and asked, Why? Didn't you say that the sky chess is very powerful? The High Lord wanted to use the sky chest to deal with Tang Zheng and the others, including Empyrean Fairy and Tian Chanzi. It was clear that the sky chest was very powerful. How could it not be defeated by the High Lord? This did not make sense. Ji Wuxiang said resentfully, "You only know one part of the story, but you don't know the whole story. It's true that the heavenly chest is powerful, but we didn't unleash the true power of the heavenly chest just now. What we unleashed was only the tip of the iceberg. To unleash the true power of the heavenly chest, we need very complicated and strict conditions." Oh, I'd like to hear more. What did President Ji mean by Fekta and Merak just now? Tang Zheng asked curiously, staring at Ji Wuxiang with a burning gaze. Ji Wuxiang did not hesitate and said openly, "This is the sky chess's moves. Fekta and Merak represent each move. There are 7 moves in the sky chess, namely Dubhe, Merak, Fekta, Migrez, Alioth, Mizar, and Alcade. Every move had all kinds of internal connections and changes. Only those who practiced the game every day could master its mysteries and exert the corresponding power. I am the core of the sky chess. All the chess players listen to my orders to place their pieces and move so that they can use its great power. The power of the sky chess can be big or small. It can be limited to a courtyard, or it can be expanded to a city." Tang Zheng nodded, suddenly enlightened. "No wonder I didn't notice anything strange outside the Go Club just now. So many passers-by did not notice anything. However, once you enter the Go Club, it's a completely different scene, a completely different world. President Ji is truly a genius. Although I only saw the tip of the iceberg of the sky chest today, it has already left a deep impression on me. I believe the High Lord feels the same way." "Young Master Tang, you flatter me. The sky chest is indeed powerful, but it's only a half-finished product now. The High Lord will definitely have designs on the sky chest. Although I stopped him once, I might not be able to stop him a second time. Don't be afraid of thieves stealing, but be afraid of thieves remembering," Ji Wuxiang said helplessly. "Then why don't you seize the time to set up the sky chest? When the time comes, even if the High Lord comes to attack, he might not be able to get anything out of it." Tang Zheng disagreed. Ji Wuxiang fell silent, his expression fluctuating as he hesitated to speak. Tang Zheng looked at him with furrowed brows, saying, "President Ji, if you have something to say, just say it. There's no need to beat around the bush." Ji Wuxiang stared at Tang Zheng without blinking for a long time before saying, "Since young Master Tang is so straightforward, then I won't be shy anymore. I hope young Master Tang can lend me a hand and let the sky chess be truly completed. When the time comes, no matter how powerful the High Lord is, he won't be able to threaten us anymore." Tang Zheng did not expect Ji Wuxiang to raise such a suggestion. For a moment, he did not know how to answer. He had always been wary of Ji Wuxiang, and Ji Wuxiang's words clearly did not treat him as an outsider. If he helped Ji Wuxiang, then he would definitely have more opportunities to understand the sky chess. In fact, Tang Zheng was also quite interested in the sky chess. Ji Wuxiang made it sound so powerful, but Tang Zheng did not understand the principles behind it. If he had a grudge with Ji Wuxiang in the future, then wouldn't Ji Wuxiang also use the sky chess to deal with him? If he knew some of the key points and mysteries of the sky chess, then perhaps he could counter Ji Wuxiang. The most important thing was that he had Qi Yu and the inner demons in his body. These two were undoubtedly knowledgeable and insightful. Even if he could not find any clues, these two would definitely learn a lot and tell him. At that time, it would be equivalent to him knowing. The inner demons urged. "Young man, agree to his request. This sky chess is very interesting. I would like to see what exactly is going on." Qiyu coldly humphed and said with dissatisfaction, just deliberately mystifying. The inner demons retorted, "Qiyu, don't go against your conscience just because you came to save him today. This sky chess is something neither you nor I have ever seen before. Don't you want to pry into its mysteries?" Qiyu was silent. The inner demons had spoken his mind. "Haha, young man, you see, he has nothing to say. This means that he has no way to refute me. My opinion is to agree to his request and then figure out the mysteries of the sky chess. Perhaps we will be able to use the sky chess in the future. Wouldn't that be a good thing? There is no harm in learning more. This saying has been passed down since ancient times. Naturally, there is a reason for it. So be it. I would like to see what is so great about this sky chess. I don't want to see if it is just a trick to fool people in the end, Qiyu said indignantly. Tang Zheng was silent for a long time. He had already made his decision. Since these two were in favor of this, then agreeing would definitely be more useful than refusing. Ji Wuxiang stared straight at Tang Zheng, waiting for his answer. Okay, I agree, but I don't know how to play the sky chess, so I may not be able to help you much, Tang Zheng said without batting an eyelid. Ji Wuxiang was immediately overjoyed. His eyes lit up as he impatiently said, Young Master Tang is too modest. With your help, this sky chess will definitely be completed sooner. At that time, you will be able to see the true face of the sky chess. Haha, then I will wait and see. What do you want to do next? Tang Zheng smiled faintly. Ji Wuxiang turned his head and looked around. He pointed at the messy courtyard and said, I will first tidy up this place. Although the Go Club has been destroyed, the most important foundation is still here. So in a few days, we will be able to start setting up the sky chess. During this time, do you need my help? No need. How could I trouble young Master Tang with such a small matter? Tang Zheng nodded and glanced at the other Go players. They had once again turned into puppets, sitting quietly in front of the Go board and playing without any distractions. At this time, Tang Zheng no longer dared to underestimate these seemingly weak Go players. When they worked together, the power that burst forth was intimidating. Then I will take my leave first. If there is anything else, we will contact each other again. Tang Zheng cupped his hands and took his leave. Ji Wuxiang walked him to the door. When he opened the door of the Go Club, the clamor outside immediately traveled in. Just now, the inside of the Go Club was incomparably quiet, as if it was another world. Now that the door was opened, the two worlds seemed to merge into one. It was truly incomparably wonderful. Tang Zheng could not help but look forward to the coming cooperation even more. After leaving the Go Club, Tang Zheng asked Qiyu and the inner demons if the great desolate aura was still there. Qiyu said snappily, Do you think the other party is an idiot? Since he's gotten rid of you, he will definitely think of a way to hide. Why would he still show his face? Tang Zheng had also expected this result, but he could not guess who in the Ye family had been possessed. How could that be possible? There were so many people in the Ye family. That would be too difficult. Moreover, if he went to the Ye family again, it would be useless. He had already caused a ruckus in the Ye family. If he went again, it might cause some sort of disturbance, and, instead, it would cause Yi Tianlei's family to be in a dilemma. There are so many things that escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb, and we have only found a few of them. Could it be that you really have no other choice but to sit at home and wait? Tang Zheng asked unhappily. Qiyu and the inner demons naturally sensed his displeasure and hurriedly comforted him. That might not be the case. If you go to the famous mountains or walk around the various cities, maybe we can find more of the great desolate aura. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes speechlessly. This is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Do you know that? Where do I have that much time? Qiyu's heart skipped a beat, and he suggested, Didn't you already take the Li Palace under your command? Li Palace's eyes and ears are all over the world, and they are well informed. Let them gather abnormal information from all over the world, such as who suddenly became powerful or what strange event that science cannot explain. This is a sign, and if we follow the map and identify the targets one by one, we will naturally be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort. Chapter 1042. Tang Zheng hurriedly dialed Li Xiaoyan's number. With a beep, she picked up the phone and a pleasantly surprised voice came through. Tang Zheng, it's you. How have you been? I'm very good. The Li Palace is already on the right track. Everything is proceeding in an orderly manner. The intelligence system has already been restored 80 to 90%. When Granny Li left with her people, The intelligence system was damaged to a certain extent. However, Li Xiaoyan's ability was outstanding. It didn't take long for it to be restored. Moreover, she established a strict intelligence network that was more precise and accurate than before. It had to be said that her ability was truly outstanding. I have something for you to do. Tang Zheng went straight to the point. Li Xiaoyan was very happy. This showed her value, so she asked, "What is it?" "Give the order to collect all kinds of mysterious and strange events throughout the country." Tang Zheng finished explaining in detail. With Li Xiaoyan's intelligence, she immediately understood and said, "Don't worry, I will give the order and report it back to you as soon as possible. Don't be too anxious. This is not something that can be done in a short period of time." Tang Zheng comforted her. After hesitating for a moment, he said, "You are alone in the Li Palace. Take care of yourself. Don't tire yourself out." This sentence was more effective than any elixir. Li Xiaoyan was very happy. She kept shaking her head and said, "I'm not tired. I'm willing to do anything for you." Cough, cough. Tang Zheng dryly coughed and said a few perfunctory words before quickly hanging up the phone. He could guess a bit of Li Xiaoyan's thoughts, but he didn't want to think too much about it. Tang Zheng returned to his house and saw two familiar figures in the courtyard. He hurriedly went up and greeted them cordially. "Uncle Yi, Aunt Feng, why are you here?" Yi Tianlei's face was dignified. He looked deeply at Tang Zheng and didn't say a word. Feng Xinyang's expression was normal. She looked at Tang Zheng with a smile and said, "Little handsome brother, where did you go this time?" "I went out of town yesterday and just came back. It's been hard on you, running around everywhere. I heard you went back to school?" "Yes, this is Grandpa's wish. You really are a filial and good child." Feng Xinyang looked at him with a smile. The look in her eyes was more doting than when she looked at her own son. Tang Zheng had long been accustomed to Feng Xinyang's style of doing things. He understood that they wouldn't visit him without a reason, so he went straight to the point and asked, "Is there something wrong?" Feng Xinyang laughed heartily and patted Yi Tianlei's shoulder, saying, "Isn't it your Uncle Yi who insisted on dragging me here? In fact, that matter has nothing to do with him. He's just a dog catching a mouse and meddling in other people's business." People don't even appreciate his kindness. Tang Zheng looked suspiciously at Yi Tianlei and said, "Uncle Yi, if there's something, then just say it. You're being too polite with me. That's treating me like an outsider." Yi Tianlei let out a long sigh and said, "All right then, I'll just say it. Today I heard news that you went to the Yi residence to cause a ruckus. Is that true?" Tang Zheng nodded. "Yes. Can I ask the reason?" Yi Tianlei's brows were tangled. Tang Zheng looked at him thoughtfully and instantly understood the purpose of his trip. Yi Tianlei was actually a truly good person. Even though he had broken off relations with the Yi residents, he still missed the Yi residents deep in his heart. He couldn't be as resolute as Feng Xinyang and Yi Dingdang. Therefore, he had always been silently paying attention to the Yi residents' movements. Today, Tang Zheng caused such a big ruckus that it naturally couldn't escape his eyes. That's why he came to ask Tang Zheng. This wasn't a punitive expedition, but to clarify the reason and see if he could mediate. Tang Zheng smiled and said, "Since Uncle Yi asked, then I will naturally tell you everything I know and will not hold back. Back then, there was a prehistoric heavenly tomb in the 10,000 huge mountains. Because the restrictions were broken, many creatures and magic treasures escaped. In the past, I never paid attention to it, but now I find out that these things that escaped are quite dangerous and are good at seizing bodies and rebirth. In other words, they occupy other people's bodies, and with a shake of their bodies, they become living people again. These guys all came from the ancient era and are very powerful. Once they're allowed to truly recover and grow stronger, they will be a huge threat to this world." Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang were both shocked. They never thought that there would be so many hidden matters and immediately asked, "Then what does this have to do with the Yi residents?" "These things that escaped will emit a desolate aura. I finally found the whereabouts of this desolate aura in the Yi residence, so I barged into the Yi residence to investigate." Tang Zheng explained. Yi Tianlei suddenly realized and said thoughtfully, "You mean that someone in the Yi residence has been possessed?" Yes. Who is it? Tang Zheng shook his head regretfully. The other party is very cunning. And because of Yi Xuanji and Yi Ke's obstruction, I was unable to find out who was possessed, and the other party has already escaped without a trace. So it will be even more difficult to track them down. Feng Xinyang frowned. Then this guy is really cunning. To be able to escape your pursuit, are you eager to know the result? Of course, could it be that Aunt Feng has a way? Feng Xinyang pointed at Yi Tianlei and said, although he doesn't have much ability, investigating a person in the Yi residence shouldn't be a big problem. According to what you said, after this person has been possessed, his behavior will be very abnormal. Even if the other party hides well, there will still be clues, especially with the people who normally interact with each other. Don't you think so? Tang Zheng's head lit up, and he looked at Feng Xinyang in pleasant surprise and said, Aunt Feng is wise. Feng Xinyang laughed loudly. What wise idea do I have? It's just a small matter. Saying this, her arm touched Yi Tianlei and said, don't you think so? This small matter must be done immediately when we go back, and we must find out who is possessed in the shortest time possible. Yi Tianlei nodded his head, and after a long time he said, Little Zheng, you are our family's benefactor, so I will naturally take care of this small matter. But if it involves a specific person, what are you going to do? Tang Zheng raised his eyebrows and asked, does Uncle Yi have any misgivings? Little Zheng, I am after all someone from the Ye family, so if it involves a specific person, I hope that you will be able to deal with it at your discretion. Yi Tianlei said hesitantly. Feng Xinyang heard this and directly jumped up. Yi Tianlei, what's wrong with you? How did the Ye family treat us? Did you not see it? Now you're saying good things for them. Are you a pig? So stupid. Feng Xinyang was greatly angered and was flustered and exasperated. Seeing this, Tang Zheng hurriedly comforted her. Aunt Feng, don't be impatient. Uncle Yi is a righteous person, so of course I understand what he is thinking. Only, Uncle Yi, although I am of the younger generation, there are some things that I must say. Although your intentions are good, the other party may not accept your kindness. Yi Tianlei's face became embarrassed. Tang Zheng did not stop there, and instead continued to say, this matter is of great importance, so no matter who is involved, I will not back down. I must find this person. Also, this person has already been possessed, so the original person is already dead. This body is occupied by someone else, and is not someone from the Ye family. Little handsome brother, don't listen to his nonsense. He is soft-hearted and will never change. Feng Xinyang said without good feelings. Tang Zheng smiled and said, Uncle Yi is a kind person, so he has this kind of thinking. This is better than many vicious and merciless people. Feng Xinyang's lips slightly raised, and she smiled, her face brimming with happiness. Little handsome brother, do you know why I chose him that year? Why? Tang Zheng gossiped and asked. Feng Xinyang glanced at Yi Tianlei. It's because of his stupidity that he moves people's hearts more than other smart people. Tang Zheng laughed loudly. That's right, so Uncle Yi's starting point is good. Uncle Yi, I will leave this matter to you. Find out who has been acting strangely, then we will know who the enemy is. When the time comes, it will be easy to deal with. There is no need to implicate the entire Ye family. What do you say? Yi Tianlei looked pensive. What you say makes sense. The way of the world is becoming more and more complicated. I can't see through it at all. Uncle Yi is too modest. If Uncle Yi and Aunt Feng are in the mood for leisure, once this matter is over, I will invite you to an island for a vacation. The scenery there is beautiful, and there is no smog like the capital. It can be used to relax. Tang Zheng suggested. Feng Xinyang happily agreed. Little handsome brother, you are the one with the heart, unlike this guy. I have been with him for most of my life, but he doesn't know how to take me on a vacation. I have heard Ding Dang mention your island before. I have wanted to go for a long time. Good, then it's a deal. Little handsome brother, let's go over there. I have something to say to you. Feng Xinyang pulled Tang Zheng to the side. What can't you say in front of me? Yi Tianlei speechlessly rolled his eyes. Feng Xinyang glanced at him and said, This is a private conversation between me and little handsome brother. You don't need to know. Go to the side." After saying this, she pulled Tang Zheng to a secluded area. Tang Zheng curiously looked at her and asked, "Aunt Feng, what is it that has to be so grand?" Feng Xinyang looked at Tang Zheng. The more she looked, the more satisfied she was. When he was still a high school student, she had already set her mind on him. Now it seems that her vision was truly unique. If it wasn't for her constant perseverance and encouragement, perhaps that silly daughter of hers would have already had no fate with him. As for the unclear relationship between Tang Zheng and other women, she was very clear about it. However, what kind of person was she? How could she let her daughter withdraw because of such a small matter? On the contrary, she would encourage her daughter to compete even more. Only a truly outstanding man would be able to attract the attention of so many women. Feng Xinyang's daughter had never been afraid of challenges and competition. Bravely moving forward was the style she should have. However, ever since the last time she let Yi Dingdang return home and had a long talk with her, Feng Xinyang also realized that her daughter was facing a crisis. The most important thing was that the women by Tang Zheng's side were too outstanding. Not to mention Wu and Li Xiaotian. These two were originally experts of Li Palace and martial organization. She had to admit that they were stronger than Yi Dingdang. You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.